Okay, that was not me that did the double. That was Streamyard that did the double. This is starting to become a problem. And I could also do the full ring poem, but yeah. Well, I'll let you do the English version, and I'll do the Black Speech version, Ambassador. How about that? Anyway,
okay.
Welcome back, folks. It's Orange Chat. Welcome back to Orange Chat. And it is Tolkien Sundays. We're going to be discussing the first three, which was not The Hobbit, the first three to come out, which was the Fellowship of the Ring, Two Towers, and Return of the King extended editions. And we are not going to do scene by scene because we figure doing scene by scene, we'd be here for 6 hours. As much as I need 1,100 hours of watch hours, I'm not about to go a 6-hour stream into like 3 a.m. in the morning. It's not happening. I'm sorry, folks. I love you. That's not happening.
Although you could do
anyway, plus
two for each movie.
I mean,
just saying.
Well, we could have, but that or still scene by scene is rather tedious on this one because it is extremely a detailed movie.
That's why scene by scene,
it's not feasible.
Yeah. So anyway, before we get started, I do want to let you all know my schedule. I got this one for tonight. Tuesday, I have the end of Military versus Aliens, which is with Battleship at 1:30 p.m. And me and Mara already did our singles and ones and twos for October. Plus, I will be on the Bar Room Tuesday night for their Halloween Bar Room podcast. Michael Myers will also be showing up there. And let's see here. I'll just be trying to get content out for you throughout the week. I got a couple of things. I'm going to try to do one more Michael Myers short for you. But definitely catch the Bar Room at 9 p.m. on the dot because Michael Myers might have a nice little intro for that stream. Anyway, before we get started, hit that like button, or as the banner suggests, one like to rule them all. However, I could use more than one like for this. But yes, definitely hit that like button so it supports the channel. Share out the stream. It supports the channel. Do whatever you can to support the channel because I'm trying to get full monetization, and unfortunately, YouTube seems to have a problem with my channel, and they're suppressing the algorithm to my channel. I am doing everything from freaking tags, freaking hashtags and all that stuff. Nothing's working to get my time up. So if you guys want to support my channel, the best thing you can do is just watch the playlists. Anyway, let's say hello to our panel. We got Ambassador. How you doing?
Howdy, howdy.
And we got Skyhound Gamgee. How you doing?
Doing well.
All righty. And we got in the chat so far, Neozoic. Howdy, Orange Hat. Unfortunately, our friend Nerd with the Cigar is not going to be joining us tonight. She had to, she had a prior existence. She had a prior engagement that last minute kind of thing. And you know what? We forgive her. We'll see her on next week's Two Towers. Now, starting off, as I said, it's not going to be scene by scene. It's basically going to be chapter by chapter, so to speak. And this movie starts off with the prologue, where it shows the elves getting the rings. And a lot of people are like, why does Elrond look different before when receiving the ring at the beginning of the movie? And he is then played by Hugo Weaving. And I'm like, because that's not Elrond, you friggin' fool.
No, that's
so
Arendelle.
Who wishes... Yeah. Or no, not Arendelle.
Was it Gil-galad?
Or Gil-galad was one of them. Or Círdan and Gil-galad.
Círdan, Gil-galad, and Galadriel, obviously.
Yep. Nenya, Narya, and what was the other one called?
Vanya,
elf
I
rings.
think.
Yeah, I think it is Vanya.
Pretty sure it's Vanya.
Elf rings.
Because
Vilya. Vilya.
Vilya. Okay, I was close.
Yep.
Yeah,
Narya is fire. Narya
is that
Nenya is water, and Vilya is air, because they were elemental rings.
Yeah, because Círdan, if I remember correctly, gave his ring to Gandalf at one point. And
the Ring of Fire, yes.
Galadriel, yeah, the Ring of Fire, because he is keepers. Well, not to. This is by no means punny by any stretch. He is keeper of the sacred fire. It makes sense that he would have the Ring of Fire. Again, no pun intended. No pun intended.
Well, he is also a Maiar spirit of fire. So.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So it would make more sense for him. Yeah.
As is Durin's Bane, also a Maiar of fire, just twisted.
Yeah.
But anyway,
corrupted.
The prologue. We see the rings being passed to the elves, the dwarves, and the men. And though they picked the 9 most corrupt-looking individuals to play the men. I'm like,
they really did. They really, really did.
They definitely did.
And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, they do look like they could fit that part as the 9 that we know them.
They really fit that description quite well.
Well, and not to mention what Galadriel says is almost kind of a burn. Men who above all else desire power.
And the way that she says it is very condemning. It's like, who
yes,
above
it is, because we see what happens to him.
Power. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, all they did is they got turned into Sauron's bitches.
And Aragorn pretty much explains it to the hobbits later.
We then see how, we then are introduced to Sauron, who has his master ring.
Damn it! The armor. That armor was so damn cool.
Oh, it was, and the facial armor for Sauron was actually based on a horse.
Yeah, it was. I was actually watching a lot of. Well, when they were designing the armor for him, I rewatched Fellowship for this. I'll be doing that for all of these. And I was rewatching a lot of the supplemental material. Yes, I have this.
Oh, I have one too.
This.
Yeah.
Well, this is the extended editions on Blu-ray.
Oh, nice. I have the DVDs.
Okay, that's cool. You got the leather-bound ones, son. The nice little bookcase looking ones. I think I love those. I used to have those. The guy that's Richard Taylor, who's the head of Workshop, he said when they were designing the armor for Sauron, they wanted to go for that elongated, like corporeal or corpse-like horse's head, and it was perfect. I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better design for Sauron, because at this point he can no longer take a fair form. He got his crap wrecked when the gods of Middle Earth sank Numenor.
Yep.
The island of Numenor.
He was, I do forget that he was there.
Yeah, he was there. Anything. He was the reason why the Numenorians or anything, a lot of them got they got wrecked. Their shit.
Yep.
To use the old phrase, their shit got wrecked, and Sauron got his shit got wrecked by the gods.
Well, that was because the Numenorians stood against the Valar and wanted to seize the Eternal Land for themselves. Basically, very biblical, because that's what happened with Babel.
I can see the
Tower of Babel. Yep, Tower of Babel. Yep.
And that's basically, or for those of you who know your Tolkien knowledge, Tolkien was a very, and when I say very, I mean very devout Catholic. Any of these notions that people nowadays think they have of him,
they don't know Jack.
They don't. Where Philip Boyens, not recently, but in the appendices of the films, actually clarified because they knew that this would come up, that Frodo and Sam have a very close friendship, not sexual or gay or anything like that, because again,
Of course not.
very devout Catholic.
Mhm.
And when he was living his life, that stuff was very not, or was very frowned upon.
It
in
was
the Catholics.
taboo.
It was
Yeah.
very taboo.
Yep.
So yeah, he didn't have any of that LGBTQ stuff. Sorry, folks. There's nothing wrong with being able to identify with them in any other ways, like morals and belief system and your values. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, Samwise Gamgee is my favorite character in, aside from Gandalf, in the entire trilogy, because that man is just so, or that hobbit is just so freaking steadfast in his wanting to help and wanting to keep his promise to Gandalf.
Yeah.
It is very admirable.
And Gandalf was very clear to Sam, though. He says, like, don't you leave him, Samwise Gamgee.
Yep. And I don't mean to. I don't mean to. And another thing, but getting back to the prologue, when Sauron loses his fingers, he is known, or there is a time where when a lot of people, this is where the movies diverge a little. He didn't lose his corporeal body.
No.
He was dragged from the field after he lost the ring. There was the great wave, yes. And Isildur claimed the ring. Yes. But Sauron was still there. He was still corporeal. And he remained corporeal.
I think what he was trying to say is Sauron remained corporeal and throughout the events of the Lord of the Rings, but he was in a very weakened state. He was you think you have to remember about Sauron. He is of the same race as Saruman and Gandalf and the other wizards in Middle Earth. He was a Maiar. He was corrupted by Morgoth, the OG Dark Lord, and I think who was quite frankly, an even bigger badass than Sauron was. And essentially, he was Morgoth's chief lieutenant. He was able to retain his corporeal form, but unfortunately, he was severely damaged and everything because he lost the ring, he lost the fight, and okay, I guess I'm carrying this for a few minutes until Orange gets back in here, and that's fine. I'm used to doing that, especially when his internet goes wonky. And I realize we still have John Wick behind us. He never changed his background. Anyway, beside the point. What we see in the film is you see his body crack and break and everything in a manner of speaking, or his armor does, and you see his helmet blow off. And yeah, that's where the movies and the books do diverge or anything, because in the movies, we understand everything, and this is from something that Saruman says to Gandalf. Though can no longer achieve physical form, his spirit
has lost none of his potency.
Yeah, his spirit has lost none of its potency. That's the difference between the movies and the books. But honestly, it's not a bad thing entirely. It doesn't detract from the narrative. Now, as far, I think, getting off of that little sidetrack, the prologue, it was a beautiful piece of storytelling. It was, I think, 5 minutes roughly, Skyhand, if I remember correctly. In 5 minutes, we got the major players, the major plot, and the basic set for this whole damn series of movies. Now, they didn't do quite the same thing with Two Towers and Return of the King, but we'll get to those when we get to those. What we have is a jump in time, but a logical jump in time, because there's thousands of years between when the prologue ends and where we pick up with Gandalf coming.
And the thing that was mentioned, though, in the prologue, that, as Galadriel puts it, history became legend, legend became myth. And for 2,500 years, the ring passed out of all knowledge until when chance came and snared a new bearer. Now, what I find interesting about that part is it doesn't mention who it is, but we do know that Gollum eventually does get it. As for how, it doesn't go into that until later in Return of the King, which we will eventually get to.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's one of the great parallels about these movies and everything. You see a hand reach into the water, grab the ring, and we always assume that it was Smeagol or Gollum who did it. We'll find out later it wasn't Smeagol. It was his cousin, his best friend, or well, his kin. And I think one of the things I love about the prologue is it uses at least one piece of very well-known artwork, either done by Alan Lee or John Howe, because we have to realize these guys Alan Lee and John Howe were the visual storytellers for a lot of years for the Lord of the Rings. They did all the illustrations for the different editions of the book and everything, and so on. And you have the very iconic scene of seeing Gollum in his cave, crouched over, holding the ring, standing by his pool on a rock, and you just see the silhouette of him. But it's just all you see is his eye. You see the eye shine. You see the eye shine, and you're like, "Damn, this thing's creepy." Whatever this is, obviously it's Gollum. We know this. If you're a fan of Tolkien, you know this. And I think the thing for me was I was never, I was aware of Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit when I was in high school, but I never read it. I never sat down and read the books. But when these movies came out, I was there day one, or at least week one when they first came out, because this was something that obviously fans were extremely excited for, because before this, all they had was the Rankin Bass and the Ralph Bakshi animated films.
Right, I remember seeing those back in middle school. And the funny thing
I think I saw them like when I was in elementary or junior high, somewhere along in there.
Yes, and similar in my case. The funny thing is, though, is that the very first time I saw the teaser trailer for Fellowship of the Ring, I already knew that, yes, there were books, and yes, I was watching some of it in school, but I never had a chance to start reading the books. So as soon as word got out, I was like, I might as well get myself prepared here. And thankfully, my library had the books, so I started going one by one in preparation for it.
I watched the movies first, and then I got. Obviously, it's not a first edition, but it was a first edition with the new movie imagery. It's a box set of all three movies. They're paperback, but it was a very cool. It came in a box and everything. It has the exterior exterior images, the Nazgul writing. To answer Neozoic's question, and Sky, if you want to jump in on this too, how would you compare Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings with the 1978 animated version? Go
ahead.
Just from my personal opinion, Neozoic, and I don't say this by any means as a derision or to knock the animated films. There is no comparison, to be perfectly
It's apples to
honest.
oranges.
Definitely.
Honestly, I think. Don't get me wrong. There are pieces and everything. There is some good ideas and some good executions on certain things in the animated version, but it's night and day. They did what they could with the budget they had at the time. This is the Lord of the Rings that everybody refers to. This is the benchmark. This is what set the level for how great Lord of the Rings media should be done. Anything else, and we can compare The Hobbit. We can discuss The Hobbit at a later time. It's not that I dislike The Hobbit. I just think it's got too much in it that didn't need to be there. I don't think it needed to be a trilogy. That's my own personal opinion. Anything else?
The one that actually has that opinion, Ambassador. I think that when it comes to like visuals and all that, someone mentioned that Viggo Mortensen, who played Aragorn, said that Peter Jackson kind of got a little too heavy into the tech. And he's got a point.
Maybe
Peter Jackson did, or what did you say he did?
He kind of got a little too heavy into the CGI and all of that later on.
Yes, he very much did when it came to The Hobbit.
With the Hobbit, especially, yeah. I thought you were mentioning. You think you're referring more to Lord of the Rings, but with the Lord of the Rings, there were certain things that only CGI could do.
Yes,
and
because
they
especially
did
groups, large groups and stuff. That was one of the main things that they had to have CGI for.
Well, not to mention the elephants.
Yes,
that was another thing. But as far as I'm concerned, especially with Fellowship, this set the benchmark for all three movies, and in a lot of ways, it set the benchmark for the entire saga, if you want to include The Hobbit. Although, as much as I enjoyed The Hobbit, I do recognize the flaws in it. And again, I think it could have been 2 movies at the bare minimum. I would have been very happy with a 1 to 4 hour movie, because honestly, it being stretched out into a trilogy didn't work. But that's beside what we're talking about tonight. So let's get back on Fellowship.
We kind of already, Ambassador.
We'll try and keep the rabbit trails to a bare minimum, because this is what we're here for. We're here for Lord of the Rings. We're here
as we were waiting on you or in chat, Ambassador and I, we were kind of like continuing on a little bit on the prologue.
I heard.
Okay, he could hear. Okay,
yeah.
All right, so
I was able to catch it. The prologue, actually, the Gollum bit. You are absolutely right. That was Deagle. And yes, actually, he is, or Smeagol and Deagle, the cousins, or they were cousins, as the name suggests, or as the names matching suggest. When he came home, they found out that he had killed somebody, or that he had murdered, and he was therefore banished. But I do like how they did touch on the Hobbit a little bit with Ian Holm as a younger Bilbo. That's basically all they really needed to do to catch us up with Lord of the Rings, because they didn't need to cover Erebor and whatnot. They wanted to keep the focus on the Rings journey, not the but yes, with the characters, but they also wanted to make sure it kept with the Rings journey, or in this movie specific. Because Tolkien did divide his books to book 1, book 2, book 3, book 4, book 5, book 6. And there's a lot that was taken out. Tom Bombadil was actually a very important scene that they needed, but however, they couldn't put it in, and they didn't want to deprive the Ring's power or influence, because Tom Bombadil was not influenced by the Ring at all. But the prologue actually did a good job in serving what it needed to be done, showing the fate of Isildur, who lived longer than any other Númenórean due to the Ring giving him longer life. He lived to be like 234 years old, where most Númenóreans live to be like 160. They also did the extended edition also shows exactly what happens to Isildur, where he died in the Bruinen, because the Ring did betray him. I like that bit. And I do like the last bit of it, where she's like, "For the time will come when hobbits shape the fortunes of, or will shape the fortunes of all." And so then we get to the beginning. Now, in the theatrical version, Fellowship of the Ring scroll is when he is talking or calling for Frodo out in the woods, where in the extended, it's inside Bag End.
And then Bilbo's like starting to write his book.
Yeah, the extended edition, everything you see. Actually, I want to say this, and I want to address that real quick. The Fellowship title pops up as we're panning through Bilbo's home. In the theatrical, it comes up with Frodo sitting in the forest, because we never hear Bilbo hollering for Frodo, as I recall. The thing, the Neozoic, is Tolkien cordially, and I'm using their terminology, cordially disliked allegory.
Yes, a lot of people that our fans of Tolkien have to bring that up, and there's a
Yes.
specific reason to that. And I'll let you guys take it from
It
there.
doesn't represent sin unless you want it to represent sin. It's not supposed to necessarily represent anything in
Yes.
terms of the story itself.
Mhm.
The ring is simply evil. That's it.
Yes.
If you're a person of Christian or Christian belief, yes, it can represent sin. It can also represent the industrialized age, which Tolkien bemoaned and everything because, well, he didn't
He was
like
a
the fact
naturalist.
that he
Mhm.
was very much a naturalist and everything. You see that mirrored in these films where the people who are more who are the protagonists are more on the side of defending nature or so on, whereas the antagonists are more industrialized. But again, Tolkien would have never made that illusion. He would have said, if you want to see that, you can, but he's like, I myself do not care for allegory.
Yeah. MJ1 Media, Tolkien said he wasn't doing, he wanted to do his own myth. Yes, there are similarities to Arthurian legend. However, he was doing his own mythology because Chaucer did a good. Don't get me wrong. Chaucer did a good run with the Canterbury Tales and the Arthurian legends. However, Tolkien's mythology was extremely, and it's thanks to Chaucer because of this, because he took inspiration. But Tolkien went extremely detailed. No other, and I mean this, no other author living today has matched the extreme world building that Tolkien has done.
Mhm.
There are some authors who kind of have a very small scaled version of what he has done. Karen Travis with the Mandalorians in Star Wars, she created the language, the history, the culture. However, that was building off of something that was already established.
Mhm.
Where, you also have Terry Goodkind, who did the Sword of Truth series. He took inspiration from Lord of the Rings, but he still didn't go as rich into detail as Tolkien did with his stuff. I mean, Tolkien did The Hobbit, which was gently for kids. It was meant for kids, a child's tale. Mm-hmm. But when he did the sequel to it, which was Lord of the Rings, that was very much not kid friendly. Yes, kids could read it, sure. They would not understand it to the degree that an adult would. And a fun thing about The Hobbit, which because we are discussing it's in the same universe, at the time of The Hobbit's publishing, it seconded only one other book, and that was the Bible.
I thought it was Lord of the Rings seconded the Bible, not the Hobbit.
No, it was, I do believe it was a Hobbit. I might be wrong. If I am wrong, feel free to connect or correct me in the chat. Lucas wanted to make Flash. Yeah. But anyway.
I was watching. Go ahead.
No. You go ahead.
Just briefly. I was watching the special features today. They made note that Lord of the Rings was the second most published or read book only to the Bible. They did not mention the Hobbit.
All right. So it was Lord of the Rings. Then thank you for clarifying.
No worries.
But also, I do like the reunions with. They did a good job with the forced perspective in this movie. That is actually something that they actually did, or they in some scenes. I should correct myself. In some scenes, they did a good job with it. In others, it was very easy to see that it was not done well. One of the scenes that we do see a well done forced perspective is when Gandalf is sitting next to Frodo. Elijah Wood is actually sitting like kind of 2 or a foot and a half to 2 feet behind Ian McKellen. And they actually did that very well. The post that he is holding on the side of the carriage, that I noticed was a bit off. But I do enjoy the reunions that they had. Because I can actually I wanted to save it for this. I can actually very much imitate Sir Ian McKellen's Gandalf in this film. And I think that his voice was rather very well done. So, yeah. But I love what he says. He's like, "You're late. A wizard is never late.
Never late.
Grolo
Baggins.
Nor he early.
You're early.
He arrives precisely when he means to.
to.
Let me do it, damn it. I was actually giving my fucking voice impression.
Okay.
Anyway.
Sorry. I won't do it anymore. Sorry.
But anyway, and you see, or if you watch the theatrical next to the extended, you notice a lot of difference because the narration of Bilbo is not in the theatrical. And so life goes on, full of its comings and goings. That's actually Gandalf's in the theatrical, yeah.
Yeah.
Where
in the extended, it's Bilbo saying it.
Yep. And I really do like Bilbo's narration a lot better because you get the sense that he is indeed getting ready to leave. There will always be a Baggins living in Bag End under the hill, and there always will
under
be.
the hill.
And I also like seeing where he freaks out when he can't find his ring.
The ring. Yeah, it's right there in this.
Find it, and then the moment he gets it, he's like, there it is.
Yeah,
it shows you that he is very much still enthralled with the ring, or with the influence of the ring. So yes, he is very much. Sorry, I had a thing that looked like an emergency alert on my phone, but it wasn't. It was a stupid email thing. But anyway, I do like we're going to move to the birthday or the reunion, because watching The Hobbit then this movie, you actually do kind of see a slight connection, because when he knocks on the door and Bilbo yells at him and he's like, "And how about very old friends?" I mean, these two played it so well. The late Ian Holm, Ian Holm is sadly no longer with us. He did this role very well. And I got to say that, I really do got to say that, because he played it as if Ian McKellen and him are lifelong friends who hadn't seen each other in 60 years. And it really was that well done. And the way he looks at me, he's like, "You haven't aged a day." And so, but he realized this isn't the time to dwell on that. So he moves on from it immediately, just by offering a little bit of a laugh to disarm Bilbo, or to keep Bilbo on track. And it really is done well. Not to mention, Shire Reckoning is actually a time difference between the outside world and the Hobbit's sense of time, because
their calendar.
They
go by Shire Reckoning.
The way how hobbits understand things is different from, how men understand time, how elves understand time, even the dwarves. All four of those species understand the flow of time in a certain way.
Well, and you have to figure in all that extra time for all those extra meals.
Well, the elevenses, the tea.
Just saying. I'm just saying.
Okay, so the Shire Reckoning year was divided into 12 months 12 months of 30 days. All 12 months have 30 days. 5 extra days were added to create the 365-day year. The 6th extra day was added when leap year happened. What is the difference between dates between Shire Reckoning and the Hobbit's calendar used by men and elves? It was different from that used by the men, dwarves, and elves. Use of this calendar in Middle-earth is referred to as Shire Reckoning. The calendar featured what I just named. I believe the amount of year difference is like 160 year difference in the or between the years. let's see here. I'm trying to figure out. All right, in the Shire, year 1 corresponds to Third Age 1601, when the colonization of the Shire began. So yeah, so it's actually 1600 years difference by Bree Hobbits, Marco, and Bianco, 2 brothers of the Felodic or Felahiddish stock. So that is pretty interesting. But getting back into it, we also see that there is a reminder of the Hobbit stuff with the map of the Lonely Mountain.
Yeah.
And it really is nice to see how Gandalf can kind of just really slink around, even though he is in a very small house. He's like, I can make you some tea. Oh, just the thank you. It's like, oh, right. And we get the Sackville Bagginses, which is nice because a lot of people give the Sackville Bagginses a lot of shit and believe they deserve it because Lobelia Sackville Baggins is a raging bitch. But she does have one of the greatest redemption arcs in literary history. I mean, that woman is very spiteful and hateful, yes, but she really does, and I'll get to it in the Return of the King discussion. But what were your guys' thoughts on the discussion between Gandalf and Bilbo, because he knows that Bilbo is getting ready to leave, and Bilbo tells me, he's like, I'm old, I know I don't look it, but I begin to feel it in my heart. I feel thin like butter scraped over too much bread, and he needs his holiday. So it really does go into that dark sense, or that really deep dark sense that something is wrong. And also Gandalf, being as observant as he is, notices that Bilbo is fondling something in his pocket. Now, a lot of people, folks, I'm a person, just to clarify before I give the floor over to Ambassador and Skyhound, I am a person that uses older language in their original context. Fondling does not necessarily mean you're grabbing somebody's or a woman's boobs. Fondling means you are groping something, period. It's a gripping of something. So when I say he's fondling something in his pocket, he is gripping something in his pocket and holding it and caressing it. So yes, also in this, or in the books, you see the word queer, which is actually abnormal. So unlike what it has been bastardized to today. So yes, I do use older words, and you may hear some words that are offensive to many nowadays. Specifically, one word in this or in here that you may hear me say is faggots, because that is actually not originally a derogatory term. All it means is a bundle of sticks tied with string. So yes, you might hear that, and if you get offended by it, I'm sorry. Well, there is a exit button to the stream for you all. But anyway, to the floor. What did you guys think of the talk between Bilbo and Gandalf? I'll give it to Ambassador first.
Well, I've been talking for a little bit. Skyhound, you go ahead first, bud.
All right. Okay. Skyhound.
So the first time when I watched it on the theatrical and then compared it with the extended edition, it's pretty clear that, as you mentioned, Orange, that the foreshadowing or the manner in how it gets to what Gandalf eventually realizes is going on with Bilbo, the way how they played it out was, from my observation, really well done. And you can see it from not just the way how the dialogue is being presented, but also through the facial expressions, especially with the way how Sir Ian McKellen is just the way how he looks at Bilbo. He's like, okay, something is off here. I can sense it, but what that is, I know it's there, but only time will tell.
All right, Ambassador.
The thing I love about this scene is you have two very well practiced stage and screen actors, both of them knighted. And
Mhm.
granted, they did not have a whole lot of lead time for this movie per se, but they do bring that sense of genuine friendship and genuine cordiality towards each other. I mean, these are men who in their, well, for Bilbo in ways in his younger years went on quite a few adventures with Gandalf, both with and without him. They risked life and limb together, in a manner of speaking. And what we see in these series of scenes is we get the idea that Gandalf, it's been a while since he's been there, a very long while since he's been there, but it's almost as if there's this network or anything that keeps all the hobbits aware of what Gandalf is up to, per se. And I love the fact that even in his own home, Bilbo's like, "You don't mind if I eat, do you?" And Gandalf's like, "No, not at all." It's those little details or anything that make the scene so great. And you see Bilbo getting the kettle off of the fire, and you see him using a heavy duty cloth of some kind or anything to pick up this heavy cast iron kettle and everything, and pouring the water into the teapot and everything so that Gandalf and him can have their tea. And it's a very warm, it's a very, as somebody mentioned in the chat, it's a very sweet scene, but then it does take this very brief turn to where it's more serious, where Bilbo's talking about, "I know I don't look old, Gandalf, to your eyes, even though I know you are more than what you are, but I feel it in my bones, I feel it in my heart," as he says it so poignantly. He is getting old. And later on and everything, when they get to Rivendell, we see that, and as he says it, everything to his cousin, or well, his, in the book they're cousins, in the movie they're uncle and nephew, and I actually did not mind that change that much because I think it created a better bond between the two of them. Whereas they're just older and younger cousins. In this case, the uncle and nephew. He says to Frodo, "He just finally caught up with me," and it's a very, Ian Holm, we lost him many years ago. I actually did a stream on him and everything back when he did pass, and it's a beautiful thing to see him in these movies, even though he only has like 3 or 4 scenes through all 3 movies and everything. This is the most screen time he has in the entire trilogy, but that portrayal sticks with you as you go on and everything, go down this road. And I love the scene and everything where they're sitting outside on his front porch, and they've got their pipes, and you have that scene of them and everything, and Bilbo blows this very simple smoke ring out, and then Gandalf, being a Maiar, being an angel, we won't call it, he blows that ship and it goes through the ring. The CGI for that was so seamless, so cool looking and everything. It's still, it's a great image and everything.
Yeah. And he even says, "Tonight will be a night to remember." And so we get to the party, and they did such a good job with this party. Peter Jackson brought his young daughter in to play one of the little hobbits.
Yes, I saw that. I was looking through the.
Yeah, I remember that.
She's the one that's like, ah!
She's the one all wide-eyed.
Yeah,
Yep. And we also, in the extended edition, see the Sackville Bagginses, Lobelia and Lotho. And I like that when Mrs. Bracegirdle comes in, he's like, "Mrs. Bracegirdle, lovely to see you. Are all these children yours?" I mean, you just see this
army, a whole army of kids
go up. And he's like,
you've certainly been productive.
Oh, yeah. Well, you certainly have been productive. And he stops himself because that is a little bit improper. He's like, you have been productive. And he's
but she does laugh it off. She does laugh it off and everything. So,
and hey, Chris, good to see you in the chat. Best in the trilogy, I will agree to disagree. I think Two Towers is actually the best. But it's good to see
they're all equally great, but that's just me.
Yes, they are. Or all of them are great, yes, very much. but I like Two Towers the best.
Mhm.
Honestly, I
can
like
dig that.
all the Gandalf sequences the best. But getting into it, we also see that Rosie Cotton, which Samwise Gamgee is in love with, which dispels all of the whiners online of him being homosexual. He is very much in love with Rosie Cotton and marries her and has kids with her. So they all just do not seem to understand that. But I do like how Sam is very much he's shy about it.
He is.
And that's another
He was
way
pretty
that
much, encouraging him. He's like, "Go on, Sam, ask Rosie for a dance." And then Sam's like, "I think I'll just have another ale."
He's
just-
like, "Oh no,
"Oh,
you're
you
getting out there.
don't."
You're dancing with her."
Yep.
And I will say
And,
this: Rosie Cotton for a Hobbit, she was cute.
Yeah, she was.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
And-
okay, let's just say this: the Hobbit women, the majority of them, they weren't bad looking.
No, they weren't.
Mrs. Bracegirdle,
And,
she may have had a few kids, but still, she wasn't bad looking.
No,
If you don't
she
mind,
wasn't.
them short.
But yeah. Also, this is or another wonderful thing is that Bilbo and Frodo celebrate their birthday on the same day. So while this is Bilbo's 111th,
11.
it's also, I believe, Frodo's 33rd birthday.
Yeah.
So yes, there is a very noticeable difference of, I believe, it's 88 or 78 years between them.
Roughly. But the funny thing is, by the end of the whole thing, by Return of the King,
70.
Bilbo has beaten the old gaffer, the old gaffer, if I remember correctly, and everything by many years as the oldest living Hobbit, because Hobbits live to be very old. I mean,
They can, they live to
at
be
least
about 100-ish.
100 plus sometimes. I mean, without the
Let
ring.
me look it up.
Obviously.
Let me look it up.
Yeah.
Average Hobbit
lifespan.
Because
and
average
the crazy
100 years. Yep, 100 years.
The crazy thing is about that cake. That cake was not actually edible. It was made out of, I believe, some sort of polystyrene foam or something. And as Frodo or Bilbo was giving his speech, if you look off just to the left, it's starting to catch fire.
Yeah, I did notice that. It's like, oh, shit.
They mentioned it in the commentary. I don't remember which commentary it is, but they mentioned it in one of the commentaries. I don't remember if it was the directors or the cast commentary, but that cake was starting to catch on fire, and they were like, okay, we can't lose this shot. But I think they put it out shortly after they were done with the shot. And of course, with the party, we get another great introduction. That's
Merry and Pippin.
Or well, as their proper names are Meriadoc and Meriadoc Brandybuck. Fool of a took. Throw yourself in next time and rid of your stupidity.
Meriadoc Brandybuck and Peregrine Took. I might have known.
Those are strong names. Those are great.
Very
names.
strong. And I like how they're sneaking into, or I used a clip for my gifts for the happy birthday stuff, or my happy birthday gift. The best freaking firework was the one that he set up that had the fairies just wide out ring and I turned that into a happy birthday gift. And everybody's like, where do you get that? It's like, I made it. Just go to my Giphy. So has anyone here ever been to Hobbiton? You can actually go to Hobbiton in New Zealand. They remade it for the Hobbit, but they made it to last. It's now a tourist attraction.
I would love to
be honest.
I mean, I would love to too. Because that is pretty cool. Also, another fun fact, that tree on top of Bag End was the acorn that Bilbo took from Beorn's garden.
I did not know that.
Yep.
Interesting.
Proud feet. Christian writes.
Yep. Proud foot, proud feet. And I love that. He's like, I don't like half of you as well as I should like. And I like less than half of you half as well as you deserve. And they don't know how. They
don't know how to take it.
handle. Yeah,
because that is a great backhanded compliment. I like half of you only half as well as I should like you, and I don't like half of you as half as well as I should dislike you. I wonder how many takes it took for
Ian. The same thing in the book, and like just the way how it was delivered, I'm thinking in the back of my head, he did that really well.
Yep.
And then he or how much practice Ian needed to get that line right, because that's a bit of a tongue twister. Let's be honest.
Yeah. I like what? I like half of you half as well as I should like, and I like less than half of you half as well as you deserve. It's just so great. And he's like, but I got things to do. So that's when he pulls his magic trick on the crowd, thinking that he has been so aged and mystic that he just disappears. And I love that, how the fading effect that they have for him for this movie, for The Ring, is so freaking great, because it shows that he does truly become invisible. And but Gandalf knows, it's like Gandalf knew that he had he knows that he has a ring, a magical ring. He does not know what ring it is.
No, he doesn't realize it's the one ring.
He doesn't figure that out until after Bilbo left it, because he tries to grab it, and then we see the flash of Sauron's eye. But getting to back to Bag End, he's like, or he excoriates him a little bit. He's like, there are many magic rings in this world, Bilbo Baggins, and none of them should be used lightly.
And that's
fun. Oh, you're probably right, as usual.
Yeah. And so he tells him, he's like, I'm leaving everything to Frodo. What about this ring? It's over there on the mantelpiece. But then he realizes it's right in his pocket. And he says, now that it comes to it, I don't feel like parting with it. It's mine. I found it. It belongs to me. And Gandalf notices his friend is out of character, or his friend is out of sorts. And he tries telling him, I am trying to help you. Do not take me as a conjurer of cheap tricks. I am not here to rob you. I am here to help you. And he scares Bilbo, because Bilbo has become completely not himself in this moment, because the ring's influence and possessiveness has truly taken him at this moment. So he tells him, Bilbo Baggins, and he casts his shadow long, which is a great effect too.
The way how they pulled that one off, that was really
cool. I mean, you can also hear Bag End just creaking.
Yes, because this is one of the few times we get a hint at just how truly powerful Gandalf is, or in his Maiar name.
It's a very small taste of what he is capable of doing.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the movies made Merry and Pippin comedy relief characters? I'm just curious. That was basically because they were troublemakers in the Shire. They were very much troublemakers in the Shire. I think that the movies do translate them well with their own journeys, and make them kind of force them to grow up a little bit, which is very nice.
Like in the case of Pippin, he eventually goes with Gandalf over to Minas Tirith, whereas Merry becomes a temporary squire over in Rohan.
Personally, I never saw them as comic relief, although their characters are rather comedic driven or anything in and of themselves, but they're not just pure comic relief. I don't even see Gimli as pure comic relief either, because him and Legolas, they have their little killing competition, who can kill the most or anything like that. But honestly, if I remember correctly, that is actually from the books, if I remember correctly.
I do believe so, yes.
So, as far as I'm concerned, I don't see Merry and Pippin as comic relief, although there is a touch of that in their character arcs. They are very comedic characters, but they also are to a degree very serious and heavy characters, because they do go on. Here's the thing. Of the two of them, Merry is the more mature of the two. Whereas Peregrine or Pippin, I always like using their proper names, but I don't have a problem with their nicknames. Pippin, he's a little more immature, although if I understand correctly, they're fairly close in age, but
he is the younger.
The Tooks are a little more mischievous, whereas the Brandy Bucks they are mischievous, but they're also a little more serious minded, I guess you could say.
Yes, they're more
So,
stout.
Yeah, but that's why they both survive their journeys as well as they do, because while they've never been out in the world, they have enough common sense and they get in the right positions with the right and around the right people where they survive their journeys and they come out the better for it. I mean, in the appendices we find out they both become essentially it's mayor of Hobbiton or governor or something along those lines. Everything, and that's after Frodo was mayor, and then Sam was mayor, and then the two of them were mayor.
And even their kids, leave the Shire to do a few things out into the world. I do believe that Peregrine named one, or Pippin named one of his kids after
Faramir. Sure did. Faramir Took.
Yep. So anyway, he actually convinces Bilbo to let it go, and we then see the how the ring just slowly slides, and they actually used a magnetic ring or a magnet under the floor and a magnetic ring to get it to stop, because it would have bounced
and feel as heavy as
they wanted that. They wanted that thud. They wanted that impact to show just how much of a hold they had on
him.
Yeah, and I love their goodbye there.
Yep.
And I thought of an ending for my book.
And I love that blink that he gives right there. He's like, I thought of an ending for my book. It's as if that weight leaving him has given him a moment or a bigger moment of clarity, which is nice. It's actually a very good story, or it's actually a very good story point that they did. So he then goes in and is about to pick up the ring, but catches a very strong impression from the ring, and he dares not to touch it because he feels that this thing may indeed be what has been lost for so long. And so we see him at the fire, riddles in the dark, my precious. Because when Bilbo calls it his precious, he's like, it's been called that before, but not by you. So he knows that this may be a very dangerous ring. So when Bilbo or when Frodo comes in and picks it up, he doesn't tell Frodo about it at all yet. He just says, keep it secret, keep it safe. And when he leaves, he is gone. This isn't covered in the movie, folks. He's gone for 17 years. He is gone for 17 years.
Yep.
A lot of people think that Bilbo dies at like 112 years old. No, Bilbo dies at 131, or leaves for the Undying Lands at 131, where Frodo is like 51 or 52 when he goes, because he actually takes off on his journey the same age Bilbo was when he went on his journey. They were both 50 years old when they went on their respective journeys. Now, the
movies.
Gandalf.
The movies changed. Sorry.
Gandalf is goes to what a lot of us don't realize at the beginning of the movie. When I was first watching it, I didn't realize this was Minas Tirith that he went to. He was checking the accounts, and or what we don't know, because it's not expressed in the movie, Denethor did not want him there. He's like, he tells him, I just need access to your records. Fine, do whatever, but get the hell out quick. Essentially is what Denethor said, or basically tells him. He's like, you can use our records, but get out of here quick. I don't want you in my city. Because Minas Tirith, at the time, it was under the stewardship, because the king had not returned, even though it had been. But I love the account of Isildur, the year 34 of the Second Age. It's like, holy shit, man, they got up that high. Because a lot of people don't realize the age or different ages of the world ended with a high point of the or with a very concluding point in events. Meaning, when Sauron, or in the Second Age, was when Sauron was, or the fight in Mordor, which they show in the prologue, that is the end of the Second Age.
Yeah.
And Isildur was basically started the First Age with, or started the Third Age with the, with the claiming of the ring. But they say the year 34 of the Second Age, it was actually, or no, it was actually Isildur's death that closed out the Second Age, because they went into the Third Age after the line of kings was broken.
Mhm.
So we see how or even Isildur says, "It is precious to me. It will be an heirloom to my kingdom. Those who follow in my bloodline will be bound to its fate, because I will risk no hurt to the ring." And he also tells the secret of how only fire can tell the secret of the ring. Now, we also, or while this is all happening, we also see Mordor and Gollum being tortured. What we don't know is that he was actually he was drawn there because Sauron had called, or is calling, all evil to him. And Gollum is evil. He has an evil heart because of his pursuit and his love and need for the ring, which is actually something that Sauron himself even acknowledges. He is my chiefest rival in love for the ring, or in need for the ring. He is, or now his chiefest rival in battle is Galadriel. However, his chiefest rival when it came to the want of the ring and the need of the ring was Gollum, because Gollum had it as, or longer than anyone aside from Sauron, because Sauron had it for a couple thousand years, I do believe.
Yep. Yeah, Galadriel mentioned it was 500 years Gollum had the ring, roughly.
Roughly around that. It's about like half the time.
And so, and and so when Sauron, or when they get Shire and Baggins from them, you see the Nine are leaving their place, which is not Barad-dûr. A lot of people make that mistake. That's not Barad-dûr. That is Minas Morgul, the dead, or the city of the dead, which used to be called Minas. I forget the other name for it. Its living name was something else. But yes, I just saw the name Encalagon in the Nia Zelk brought up something. Also, did the movie mention that one ring could not be harmed by a dragon? The movie didn't make mention of it. However, it is true that, because Gandalf does mention this during the Council of Elrond, that not even Encalagon the Black could melt it. And for those of you who don't know, Encalagon the Black was the greatest drake or dragon in Middle Earth, who was slayed by God, which one?
It was an elf. It was an elf that killed him. I'm pretty sure.
An elf with his ship.
I can't remember who. But the thing is, and here's the thing about Encalagon the Black. He wasn't even a flyer. Who?
Arendelle.
Okay, it was Arendelle who killed Encalagon. Encalagon
for the rising of the sun. Arendelle. Go ahead.
The funny thing about Encalagon, he is not what we would consider a classic dragon. He wasn't even a flyer. He was just a very large, massive, fire-breathing drake or dragon. He had no wings. He was massive. He was huge. I think John Howe did he
crushed mountains beneath his steps.
Yeah, he was massive. Yes. He was actually one of Morgoth's most powerful allies.
He was the last-ditch effort for Morgoth, or because Morgoth was losing the fight in the First Age, and he's like, "All right, bring him on, or bring it on, and Encalagon, go, because I am not losing this war." and unfortunately, and Calagon pushed them back. He pushed the elves and men back, but that's another story. But they, unfortunately, I do believe they are going to bring it up in ROP. But anyway, we then get to him coming back to Hobbiton, to the Shire. Yeah. So we have him come.
Frodo comes in though. Gandalf is like pretty much hiding in the shadows, and he just grabs him. He's like, "Is it secret? Is it safe?
Secret? Is it?"
Because at this point,
Gandalf,
what we don't, what we don't realize is that Gandalf had been hunting for Frodo, or had been hunting for Gollum. They actually, or him and Aragorn captured Gollum after he had already spilled the guts. Now, the 9 have been searching for 17 years for this ring. And it's like, get. Or that just goes to show you how well it's been hidden and how it has started to fade from time again and started to become secret again. So when he comes back, he's disheveled and whatnot because he is afraid that the ring might be found, because he's pretty sure the 9, or he doesn't know that the 9 have been dispatched yet, but he knows that there are dark forces looking for that ring because, well, Gollum gave up the skinny. And so they talk about how well, or that it is the ring, and that Sauron had survived. Now I am going to kind of move past this a lot more. He also recruits Sam and makes it and promise not to lose Frodo, because we have to get. Yeah, I know that was funny though. I mean, he just grabs him and just drags him.
You're late between the verge, don't you think?
Yeah.
I heard something about a Dark Lord in the end of the world, but please, Mr. Gandalf, don't hurt me, sir. Don't turn me into anything unnatural.
Unnatural. No.
No. I think not.
I have a better use for you. Anyway, so we get the trip out, and he goes to Saruman. He must see the head of his order, and he is convinced that Saruman will help him, except that Saruman is no longer Saruman the White. He is Saruman the Many-Colored. What happens in the movie is not what happens in the books. Saruman has indeed gone mad. He doesn't have his white cloak. He has his cloak of many colors because, well, he feels that he is better than the white. And, we learn that he's sided with Sauron. He has been using a Palantir, and the Lost Seeing Stones are not to be used because they know that Sauron has one, and he has been driving Denethor mad, and he has been driving Saruman mad. And I like how Christopher Lee plays the role of Saruman. Now, fun fact, folks, Christopher Lee is the only cast member of Peter Jackson's movies to meet Tolkien, and he also had permission from Tolkien himself, if a movie was ever made, that he would play Gandalf. However, his voice worked perfectly for the role of Saruman, because Saruman's voice is very seductive and it is very commanding and whatnot.
Well, let's be honest here. All the other actors, even Ian McKellen to a degree, was somewhat intimidated by Christopher Lee, because this guy had held, or does still hold, the Guinness World Record for movies made or movies starred in. He was a spy during World War II. He spoke 6 languages, and there's this pulp culture urban legend that he didn't die. He just went into hibernation for 100 years. Let's be honest here. Christopher Lee was a freaking beast, even in his latter years. Okay, say what you want. He was Count Dooku.
Count
he was
Dracula,
Saruman. He was Saruman, obviously, for this. He was in the Golden Compass. He released a heavy metal rock album.
Descendant of Charlemagne.
Yeah, he's a descendant of Charlemagne, for Pete's sake.
Witnessed the last French execution by guillotine.
This man was ideal. This man was ideal for Saruman. And everybody else on the cast was very respectful, somewhat intimidated, especially the younger actors were somewhat intimidated by him, which it was Christopher Lee, wouldn't you be? I mean, he was one of the best villains for the James Bond movies, especially the Roger Moore ones. He was
the man with the golden gun. Yep.
The man with the golden gun. Christopher Lee, you couldn't have gotten much better casting for this character.
No,
I mean, not to mention he had met Tolkien at least once. He had corresponded with him by letter numerous times. Hell, for all we know, he may have gone to Oxford and everything and took classes with him. So,
I mean, it's probably learned under him.
It wouldn't surprise me. So,
I mean, this man,
not to gush too much on Christopher Lee, because I know as a man of his standing and his demeanor, he would not want that such a thing. But respect to the guy. He did a great job as this character. And even though he didn't get Gandalf, he got a pretty damn good role regardless, even though from what we hear, he did have a bit of a falling out, especially with the theatrical cut of Return of the King. He didn't like the fact that his scene and everything got cut, but it did get put back in for the...
And we'll get to that.
I want to cover that.
I want to cover that in Return of the King. Yeah,
I'm not going to discuss it here. But there was a bit of a falling out between Christopher Lee and Peter Jackson because of that in particular. And it was very cordial of him to come back for The Hobbit and the couple appearances he made in those movies. He was, honestly, I will say it, he was one of the bright points and everything.
He is the legend of Hollywood.
He was one of the classiest. He was one of the classiest and most well-regarded actors of any previous generation, even a little bit of our generation. And not to mention, he was, well, as Neozoic said, he was Count Dracula, for Pete's sake. So, anyway, moving on.
We get the best freaking wizard fight ever. I mean...
Yes, we do. Well, one better, but yes.
Which one was better?
Okay, I won't say better, but it's still epic. Dumbledore and Voldemort. Dumbledore and Voldemort.
I'm sorry.
This one's great too. Don't misunderstand me. This one's great too.
Yeah.
This one's great too.
But I do love what he says to him. It's like, I gave you the chance to aid me willingly, but you have elected the
way of pain.
The way of pain, and then he uses the staffs to bring him up into the Tower of Orthanc.
Which, fun fact, is actually a Numenorian structure. It wasn't built by Saruman.
Yeah. No,
he was a squatter.
Yeah,
so to speak.
Yeah. So, but with all respect to Christopher Lee, he did a wonderful job in this film. The way that he plays Saruman, the way that his voice can become very menacing. It just shows you that this man has perfected a craft very much.
Yes, he has.
And so when he tells him that the 9 have left Minas Morgul and they have crossed the River Isen, or they will find the ring and kill the one who carries it, and then he just starts shutting the doors.
His face, though, the expression on his face when he's shutting every door and he's closing the walls around Gandalf, metaphorically, physically and metaphorically speaking, that expression on his face
is somewhat joy, or not joy, but intrigue.
Yes, because he wants to see what Gandalf's going to do, and Gandalf, he gives a good showing for himself. Although you can't, you're the gray, you're not the white, you're a step down below.
Yep.
I mean, let's be honest here. If it had been Radagast,
Radagast would have got his ass kicked.
Yeah, 10 seconds. He wouldn't have lasted that much. And I like Radagast. Don't get me wrong.
Radagast is powerful in his own right, but he's not, he's known as the lesser of the Istari for a reason.
Yes.
He forgot or he had forgotten his purpose. But Gandalf, I love what he says. He's like, "When did Saruman the Wise abandon reason for madness?" It is such a great line.
And that shout
Yep.
by Christopher Lee and everything. That scene is, it's menacing. It sets the stakes for this is a guy, he may look old, he may be dressed in white, but you don't want to screw with him. He'll kick your ass.
No.
He'll praise you on top of the Tarth.
Yeah. The Istari are greater than men. They are greater, or they are even considered greater than elves.
Well, they are, because you have to remember they're Tolkien's stand-in essentially for angels. The Maiar are essentially angels. They're not as powerful as the Valar by any stretch, but they are exceedingly powerful in their own right. They were sent to Middle-earth for one reason, to be watchmen and to guard against the return of Sauron should he come back. And we don't know whatever they didn't, except for Gandalf, they kind of failed. I mean, we don't know whatever happened to the two blue wizards per se.
Yeah,
because it was Gandalf, Saruman, Radagast, and the two blue wizards who are never named, as I understand it.
No, they weren't. So let me see, what's the next one? The Wraiths. We then see that the Wraiths have arrived in the the Hobbiton and the Shire. Because I love that shot where it shows one of them on horseback just off the side of the screen and the Shire out before him. That it's such a as much as Tolkien hated allegory, it is very much evil is hunting in the Shire. Yes, it is very much a very symbolic scene. Yeah, and we get the Wraith scenes where they catch up, or where they're looking for or when they get on the road. Yeah, when they get on the road, because he says stay off the road, because the agents of evil will use the road. And he tells them, get off the road, get off the road. And when we see the spiders and all the stuff when the Wraith is around, it is because the Wraith is literally repulsive to nature. Yes. Or these things emanate fear. That is something that is not or it's not natural. When they screech. It is not when they scream and screech that causes people to be terrified. They're literally emanating it from their incorporeal form. Essentially, yes. I mean, the Wraiths, it's true. They are probably one of the most iconic characters created by Tolkien, and they're one of the most iconic characters in cinema, especially with the live action films. I mean, these things are meant to terrify you because you don't know what they look like. And then when Frodo puts the ring on and you see them and they are withered and they are wasted away to these almost walking animated corpses, essentially. Their eyes are black, their skin is pale, pasty, ghostly white. It's a frightening image. And it was meant to be. And not being able to see what's in, or what is inside of their cloaks, was also very much well done. Because it was meant that these things there's nothing under the cloaks. If you were to take those cloaks off, you wouldn't see what was there. No. They are essentially invisible. Yeah. How did we, or what was our reactions about Tom Bombadil, Goldberry, the Barrow-waiths, and Old Man Willow? I understand why they were done, especially Tom Bombadil, because Tom Bombadil was not influenced by the ring at all. He literally had it in his hand and felt nothing. He was dallying it between his fingers. And I do believe he gave them their sword, or was it Tom Bombadil that gave them their swords originally? I believe in the books, yes, I do believe it was Tom Bombadil that gave the hobbits their swords. Yeah. Yeah. And I can't remember much. I haven't read the Fellowship in a while. Actually, the hobbits got their swords from the Barrow-waith tombs. Yeah. From the Barrow-waiths. I think Aragorn gathered those swords from the tombs and everything after he got them out of there. Yeah. Did you have anything more you want to say, Orange,
on that one.
But yeah, I do understand why they took him out, because you didn't want to take any power away from the ring, because there are two people in Middle Earth that the ring didn't affect. Tom Bombadil and Faramir.
Yeah.
Faramir said, I wouldn't pick up this ring even if I saw it on the wayside.
Yeah. As far as I'm concerned, Neozoic, I'm kind of in the same camp as Orange. They don't. Here's the thing: you have to understand, with a narrative as massive as the Lord of the Rings, you have to subtract stuff. Otherwise, the movie will become unfilmable, be unmakeable. And in terms of the narrative itself that they're trying to tell, Tom Bombadil and the Barrow-Waits and Old Man Willow, they don't necessarily add anything to the already
to the progression of the story.
Yeah, they don't add anything to the progression of the story. In the books, you can have those sorts of things, and it won't detract from the narrative per se. But in a movie, they do detract. Now, I did like what Phil Boboyan said in the special feature. She's like, we know that they go into the old forest, but she's like, we never explicitly say that they never met Tom Bombadil or Old Man Willow or anything like that. So you could always plug it in there if you wanted to, but at the same time, it doesn't bother me that those pieces were left out. So
the thing with books versus film format, what occurred to me is that when you have something as extensive as Lord of the Rings, or I'll even go even further with Harry Potter, considering how extensive those are, you can only add so much, but you have to also learn how to subtract, because when you draw it out, you're going to eventually lose the interest of the audience, and there's only so much you can fit in, because budget, among other things, there's so many factors that go into adapting a book to a film.
And not only that, Tolkien himself knew these films or these movies or his works could never be adapted to film 100% faithfully. And that is why he sold the movie rights to Lord of the Rings for $1. Because he knew they would never satisfactorily make Lord of the Rings. Well, satisfactory to him. And if Tolkien was alive, he would say, these movies are not good.
Yeah, because
understand, folks, Tolkien himself would not like these films.
He may not have. We don't know, but you may be right.
Oh, we would know. He has already made it very clear with his actions and with the letters from Tolkien. I believe it was letter 208 or something, where during the 50s they tried to do an adaptation. And he said, you put it all in or you put nothing in. I will not, or my story has all of this put in for a reason. Taking anything out, you take away the essence of the story. Now, I understand that there cannot be a perfect adaptation for this movie or for these books, because movie medium, book medium are very different things. You cannot adapt these movies. Tolkien is right. You cannot perfectly adapt these films, because you would have, yes, you cannot perfectly adapt these books because they wouldn't, or they don't translate well in the way that they are in the books to film.
The only way you could do it is if you did. The only way you could actually do the books shot for shot, bit for bit, everything in, is as a miniseries. That's the only way they could be done. And
honestly, it would have to be like a 60, or it would have to be like a 60 episode season.
It would have to be. I don't know if either one of you are familiar with it. It was a very long. It was two or three seasons or whatever series, North and South. It would almost have to be the length of North and South if either one of you are familiar with that.
No,
because it was based on a series of books. It deals with obviously the American Civil War. It had a very star-studded cast for the time. It had Patrick Swayze. It had David Carradine. It had a whole slew of people and everything, well-known TV actors, movie actors, actresses, the whole shooting match. The first two books, the first two miniseries, everybody loved. The third one, everybody seemed to hate. Anything because they undid a lot of stuff that people thought was very satisfactory in the first two series. The Lord of the Rings miniseries would have to be the length of North and South for it to work, or close to the length of North and South for it to work.
All right.
There'd be no other way. Absolutely no other way.
They end up escaping the Wraiths because the Wraiths do find them on the road, yet they manage to outsmart them at the ferry.
Yeah, Buckleberry Ferry.
Buckleberry Ferry. So they get to Bree, and we get our Peter Jackson cameo there, the man eating the carrot. And we run into what's his name at the prancing pony, not Aragorn,
the bartender.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't remember the name of him either. I can't remember.
But anyway, he was expecting them in the book, and he's also expecting a person by the name of Underhill.
Yeah.
Except that he doesn't recognize it because, well, he is a bumbling fool. Now, I like this scene where he's accidentally ratted out by Pippin because Pippin
Butterbur. Thank you, MJ. Butterbur, yes, Mr. Butterbur.
But yes, he's ratted out by Pippin because Pippin doesn't know that they were supposed to leave that name in the Shire. They were supposed to not use that name. And it's like, hey, yeah, that's my buddy Frodo Baggins. It's like, shut the fuck up, man.
And then Frodo's like,
he's my cousin.
Like, oh, no. And so we get the famous shot of the ring flying up onto his finger.
Going up.
Yep.
And then also in the corner, Strider eventually spots something as well. And he knows something's up.
Yep. He's like, oh, crap. And I love that introduction to Strider in that scene because it's like this dude is just sitting there freaking cloaked like this.
And I love it. The shot where he takes a puff from his pipe and illuminates his face. I love that. Viggo Mortensen,
it is so freaking well. Go ahead.
Viggo Mortensen was the perfect casting for this. I know they tried several different actors, but the fight. No, that would not have worked. Stuart Townsend he wouldn't have worked. Viggo Mortensen was. The crazy thing is, it was Viggo Mortensen's son that convinced him to take this part. He's like, Dad, you need to do this part. You need, because his son was a huge fan of The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and all that stuff. And actually, it was his son who was able to track down the fact that, yes, Bilbo still did have the map from the quest to Erebor. And I think he still did have it in his home and everything because they weren't sure. And I think Mortensen had come on the cast at that point, and he phoned his son or something along those lines and asked him, he's like, do you know, did Bilbo still have the map? And his son was like, yeah, he still had the map. So they were able to put the map there in Bag End. But yeah, Viggo Mortensen, this guy actually just sank every bit of his soul into this role. I mean, he took this on.
We will get into it, especially in the second and third, or in the second movie, because that's where he shines the most.
But the crazy thing is, everybody in these movies seems to have two or three names. Aragorn's got his most common name, Aragorn. He's got his nickname Strider, and then he has his, I guess what you'd call it, his kingly name or his elven name, Elisar.
Yep.
And you only hear it twice. You hear it when in the extended cut when Galadriel's talking to him, and you hear it again when the ring is calling to him.
Yeah.
That's the only two times you ever hear his kingly or elven name.
Yep. So we then see that Aragorn. I like the book version better. I mean, yes, he has a sword in the movie. He has the broken sword in the book. He carries Narsil with him. There is no shrine to Narsil in Imladris.
Right, that's different.
Yeah, that was something strictly for the movie. And I'm thinking to myself, no, he always kept that on him because he actually acknowledged that he was the Lost King. However, or that what they did in the movies was, I don't want that power. he accepted who he was in the books. Aragorn, that is just another example of something that doesn't translate from book to movie, because
right.
this
When we
man,
get to the part later where he's over at the grave, and then Elrond kind of points out, Aragorn's lineage and all of that.
yes, because his mother.
And there's actually.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Orange, and then no, you go ahead, and then I'll bring up my point. Go ahead.
His father was Arathorn, who was part of the line. I think his father was part of the line of kings, or I can't remember if it was his mother or his father, but one of them, or his mother, brought him to Rivendell to be raised because she knew that he would be hunted. But his father, I do believe, was the Númenórean line that he is of. But anyway, go ahead.
This is actually from they don't use it in Fellowship. They use a portion of it in Return of the King. I've always loved. There's 2 or 3 poems, especially the Ring poem, that I love, and this one's for Aragorn. All that is gold does not glitter. And actually, I think it's Christian Freites or somebody, or no, it was Daly or anything who mentioned part of this.
Chris.
Chris
Daly.
Not lost. No, all that is gold does not glitter. Not all of those who wander are lost. The old that is strong does not wither. Deep roots are not reached by the frost. From the ashes a fire shall be woken. A light from the shadow shall spring. Renewed shall be blade that was broken.
The crownless again will become king.
The crownless again shall be king. Shall be.
And that is, shall be king. And that is actually a very beautiful, it was beautifully done in the movie, or in Return of the King, but it is also something that I do believe Aragorn does recite. Yes.
He does. They only use the last, I think, 2 or 3 lines that's spoken by Arwen.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually the last 4 verses. From the ashes, a fire shall be woken, a light from the shadow shall spring, renewed shall be blade. And it's actually when they reforged Narsil, when Elrod's 2 sons and everything. At least I'm assuming it's his 2 sons that reforged the sword. They never say that explicitly in Return of the King, but we can get that.
Now, one of the things that they did very well was when the ring did fall on Bilbo's finger, they cut to the race where the wraiths are like, "What? There it is. We got it." And they show up to Bree fairly quickly. And he's like, "You can no longer wait for the wizard. They're coming. You are basically dead if you do not trust me right now." And so they get to the inn across the street, and this whole scene where the 5 of them start stabbing the beds is so freaking great.
A knife in the dark.
How they all come in, and you see Mr. Butterbur just like, oh my god, he's just basically praying that they don't find him.
Yeah.
And it shows that these things can indeed be quite quiet, even though they are clunky. But when they start screaming, they're like, "We've been had. We have to get out of here. We have to keep searching. They're gone."
They're pissed.
But I love how Aragorn explains to them they were once men, great kings of men, yet Sauron the Deceiver gave to them 9 rings of power. Blinded by their greed, they took them without question, and one by one fell into darkness. So we then get them into the wilds, where we get the whole second breakfast bit, which is fun. I mean, we see the extended edition shines really well here because they show them in the swamps, and we
what do they eat when they can't have Hobbit?
Yeah. I mean, when Billy Boyd fell in that scene, that was not scripted. That was him he was pissed when he fell into there. He was quite angry.
Because you're wearing heavy cotton clothing and it does not dry and it sticks like a son of a...
Yeah, it does. And so in Shadow of War, I don't acknowledge the games because the games fucked up the lore very much. Freaking
Yeah,
one of
they
the
did.
Nazgul was a Isildur. It's like, no, man.
Oh yeah, that just messed
One
up.
of the Nazgul was the main character if you played a certain way. The main
Yeah,
character.
I'm not acknowledging those right now. We got to get into this because we're 90 minutes in and we still got a bunch of chapters to go.
We'll get through it.
So we then see them get to Weathertop, and that's where they get the swords in the movie. And unfortunately, they draw the raids there. Now, this was actually when Vigo's first day on set, which was very cool. Because he just came in and he jumped into it. And
because his beard was very sketchy at the time.
Yeah, he was scaring the hell out of the people who were playing the raids. They're like, "Oh shit, dude! This dude is swinging hard."
Yeah,
he scared the hell out of him.
But the funny thing is, the majority of the time and everything, Viggo Mortensen carried his hero sword with him wherever he went. Everything. He would use. I think he did use, like, for certain things. He did use a aluminum sword or something along those lines, or a foam sword. But the majority of the time, he was landing heavy punches, and he got banged up a little bit. And some people, they weren't afraid of him, and they weren't necessarily pissed at him, but they're like, "Okay, we gotta prepare. We're shooting with Viggo today. Everybody be prepared."
They gave him warning, or they gave them warning. It's just like, you guys are fighting Viggo. Fuck. It's like, I mean, that's basically their reaction.
We like Viggo, but damn it, we like Viggo, but damn it,
he is very dedicated to his craft. Let's just say that.
Oh yeah.
But also Samwise in this scene, when he says "back you devils" and he swings at the wraiths, he was told, you have to tone it back because you are a hobbit. You are not the size of a man. So you got to basically give light taps against those swords because, again, you are a very small statured being compared to these wraiths. So when they grab you guys and toss you aside, go with it. Because Sam wanted to basically show as much as he could too, but it's like, no, dude, you are small. So hold back.
You might be tough in terms of a hobbit, but these things are meaner than you.
Yeah.
And they're taller.
Yeah. So
obviously a lot taller.
Now, a lot of people don't realize this, but we learned this in the third movie, the wraith that stabs Frodo is actually the leader of the Nine, is Angmar himself. The Witch King. Angmar. And he pulls his blade he pulls his Morgul blade and stabs him. And then I love how Frodo puts on the ring because he thinks that he can hide from them. And it's like, these are the 9 people you don't ever want to put that ring on near, because they will see you perfectly and they will kill you. If you're trying to hide from them with that ring,
no chance.
You are basically letting yourself up like a flare.
Like, hi, I'm here. Oh crap, I'm here.
He's like, because I love the reaction when he's like, he slips it on and he then sees what they look like, and then you see the Witch King like just try going down, and Frodo realizes this was a mistake. Oh crap, this was a mistake. And he pulls it away, and that's when the Witch King is like, all right, fine, you're dead, and then I'll take it. But that's when Aragorn steps in and starts wrecking their shit. Now, if I remember correctly, the Witch King in the books was there, but he retreated first because he realized this was no ordinary person fighting us. This person has an air about him that is dangerous to us, even. Because a lot of people don't realize this. No man can kill me. That is speaking of no ordinary man can kill me.
Just a regular human being.
That is not speaking to gender. Aragorn is one of the potentials that could kill the Witch King.
Yeah, a Númenórean probably could have.
Yes,
he was a Dunedain. His band was specifically, his father was of the line of Númenóreans. So therefore, so was he. I mean, we find out in the second movie. Well, we'll get to that when we get to that next week.
We will get to that next week. But I do like how they are then running, and we also see that Gandalf is prisoner. We then see Orthanc has been raided, or the orcs are tearing up the trees down in Orthanc to use them not only as fuel, but as wombs, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
They are basically how orcs and goblins multiply or mate, essentially. And the Uruk-hai are basically birthed down there in the catacombs of Orthanc. And I like the I can't remember if this is actually in the book, but the moth, where he uses the moth to send word to Gwahir, because Gwahir is the leader of the Eagles. A lot of people, oh my God, small tangent, folks. A lot of fucking people, and this is so annoying when they ask this. Why didn't they just use the eagle to fly to Mordor? Because the Eagles told them flat out, we are not beasts of burden. We come from a noble race. Those Eagles come from the same line that flew with Ariandel against Ancalagon. So, yeah, they are extremely proud. They don't allow people to ride on their backs for just any willy-nilly reason. Even one as important as destroying the ring, it's like, no, we are not going to carry you. The only reason why Gwahir even picked up Gandalf was because Gandalf is a friend of them, and Gandalf owed Gandalf because he was a friend of Gandalf. And he said, if you ever need me, I will come to your aid. Gwahir also, in the books, has a crown that was crafted by the dwarves, because Thorin did say, once we take back Erebor, I will make you a golden crown so that you can express your station, essentially.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. The thing is too these creatures, the elves, or not the elves, the eagles, excuse me. They were regarded as children of Iluvatar, who was essentially the god of Middle Earth.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't just giant, massive eagles. They were their own race. They were created by the gods of Middle Earth, or by the god of Middle Earth.
Mm-hmm.
So to kind of back up what you said and everything in regards, they were saying we're not beasts of burden. We might be a part of this world, but we are also apart from it. We will take part in it when we deem it appropriate and necessary to do so, and not before. That's why we don't see them again until the Battle of the Black Gate, because they're like, okay, it's time. We're going in. We're going to see if we're as strong as the damn Nazgul on their fell beasts. Is essentially, I'm giving the layman's version of that conversation. They're like, we want to test our strength against the Nine. We want to see if they're stronger than the Nine. Obviously, they were. They kicked the Nine's ass.
They were very much. Because even, or it wasn't so much that he called, or a lot of people screw this up too. In the books, or in The Hobbit, the Eagles did not come to the aid, or did not come because they were called, which they show in the movie The Hobbit. They were curious because it's like, why are orcs on our mountainside? They were watching from the top, or the tips of the mountains. They're like, why are orcs and wargs in our sanctuary? So they went, basically, they were going territorial on them. But anyway, at this time that they were running to Rivendell. This was, this was when because they cut it's a flashback. This is actually during the time that Gandalf, I do believe, escaped from Orthanc, where he tells him there is only one Lord of the Ring, only one who could bend it to his will, and he does not share power. Because what people don't realize, Saruman does want the ring for himself. what they show in the movie is not what happens in the books. He does have orders from Mordor. He does basically create or he creates the Uruks, or a form of Urukai. However, he is doing it for himself, not
because remember,
for Sauron.
Yeah, because remember what the captain of the Urukai, Lurch, says to him when he asks, "Who do you serve?" He actually gave the wrong. He gave the wrong answer.
Oh yes.
He should have said, "I serve Sauron."
Yep.
He said Saruman.
That's another thing.
Yeah, he was a bit. Here's the thing, and a lot of people, as you mentioned, a lot of people don't realize this. Saruman had his own designs.
Mm-hmm.
He was gonna eventually take on the. I mean, yeah, the army was to take out men, but that army was actually supposed to also be able to take on Saruman's army or Sauron's army, and it probably could have. We don't know what that battle would have looked like, but
that battle would have shown the Uruks doing a good job at first, but the sheer number of orcs and Uruks that Sauron had, because Sauron also had Urukai there, or in his army. Uruks were, the Urukai and orcs are different, yes, but Urukai are essentially a higher station orc. So they're not special. Yes, they can. Some of them can run in daylight, even though it's not their natural time. They are still not at full strength during the day. You also see orcs out in daylight. They're not fucking vampires like ROP. Or sunlight doesn't burn them. It just discomforts them.
Yeah, essentially.
And hello, Freaky. It's good to see you. Gypsy Geek Freak 17. Thank you for stopping in. Folks, again, make sure that you smash that like button. It helps the channel. So we get the introduction to Arwen, who in the book it is I believe Glorfindel.
It is Glorfindel, yes.
The son of Elrond, who takes Frodo
was he a son? Or was he a
Yes,
captain?
it is one of the sons of Elrond.
Okay.
Glorfindel. Because Arwen is not in the books. She's in the appendices. She's mentioned, but she is not in she's not in the main meat of the story, folks. So yeah, they put her in because they needed a woman. That was the reason. That it's like, we need a woman in there.
Besides Galadriel.
Besides Galadriel. Yeah, I know. Besides Galadriel. So they had Liv Tyler, and they made a good choice with Liv Tyler. I thought she did very good as Arwen. And
she did a great job as Arwen.
Yep. Now, a lot of people, when she starts saying Narlima Askaloth, that is actually, or people don't realize, I believe the horse was named Askaloth.
Yeah, it was.
And Narlima just means run.
Ride hard.
Or ride hard, yeah. So
she's playing into the horse into a different gear.
Yeah. And so she's like, run like the wind, essentially. And I didn't notice this until like the 5th time that I watched the movie. She gets, because I never saw where she got, or I noticed one point she has a beautiful face. The next point she has a cut on her face. And it's like, and then I see later in the movie, they show her face gets cut on a branch. And we also see that the entire 9 are right on her freaking heels. And she doesn't summon the river. She doesn't summon the river, folks.
She wakes it up.
She asks for its help.
Yep. Elven magic.
Yes, she is asking the Bruining to assist her. She is not summoning the river, which a lot of people mistake that. And not only that, Elrond is the one who does this in the book. Off screen, so to speak. When she crosses, Elrond is already asking or calling forth the river. Not summoning it, calling forth for help. So yeah, it is implied Saruman was plotting against Sauron in the films. Yes, he was, essentially. the Uruk-hai from Isengard and orcs from Mordor were arguing over Merry and Pippin because, God damn it, sorry folks,
Conflicting because they were over Merry and Pippin because of conflicting masters. Yeah.
Yes.
That's true.
Anyway, where was I? Yes. They're in Rivendell, and we get this date recently passed, folks. I wish we could have done this then, but unfortunately we didn't. He's like, you are in the house of Elrond, and it is 10 o'clock in the morning on October the 24th, if you want to know. And it is it's like, God damn it, we're doing it in October, but we couldn't get it at that date. But I like how Gandalf tells him, he's like, oh, I am sorry, Frodo. I was delayed. And we see what happens and how Gwahir rescues him. Yeah. But one of the things that Ian McKellen liked about the scene, which was actually in the book, is how when Sam comes in, he grabs Frodo's hand. Now, if you listen to the actor's commentary, he acknowledges it as a close friendship, not because they are gay like myself, but he actually admits in the commentary that Ian McKellen is indeed gay. Not that that is a problem. I have no problem with that at all. He is a very talented actor. His sexual
what he does in his private life, I don't give a rat's ass. I don't care. The only thing I care about is the man's acting.
Exactly. And he does a wonderful job.
I do want to comment on something. I know there have been people who have griped about the switch of Glorfindel with Arwen. Honestly, it never bothered me. It doesn't even bother me the minute change of her summoning or calling to the Bruin River.
The Bruinen.
Bruinen. It shows that she has a bit of power herself. It shows that all the elves, if they're trained, have a bit of power to themselves. You could imagine that any elf of any high rank or any high mastery of their form of magic could probably do this. And
they're one with nature.
So, yeah, essentially.
Sorry.
And
they're one with nature.
And I'll say it. Her delivery and everything, she's like, you want him, come and claim him, and she's like, I'm not like, I'm not scared of your asses. I'll call a whole freaking river and drown your asses.
Yeah,
and she literally does. But anyway, moving on to Rivendell with Elrond and Gandalf and them.
So, okay, then good. No, leave me alone, you stupid phone. So we see happy reunions, and we see that Frodo sees Bilbo again. Yeah. And you see that Bilbo has indeed started to age more rapidly now that the ring is outside of his purview. And he finishes his book. Now, again, folks, this was 17 years. He didn't finish it in a matter of months or days. He finished it in 17 years. And we also did skip over Bilbo's trolls, because that was actually a small extension. It's from the extended edition. It's like, hey, look, Mr. Bilbo, look, Mr. Frodo, it's Mr. Bilbo's trolls. Now, I like how they start discussing it and how naive Frodo is. He's like, the ring will be safe here in Rivendell. We set out what we wanted to do. I am ready to go home. Except that we realize that isn't the case. And I like how we see the flashback to the day the strength of men failed, which is when Elrond and Gandalf are talking. Like, the ring can't stay here.
Can't stay.
The ring can't stay here. And we get that gif, or that very memeable moment. I was there, Gandalf. I was there 3,000 years ago. I was there the day the strength of men failed. And Isildur took the ring. And a lot of people ask, why didn't you just kill him? You don't kill evil by committing evil. By killing, or if Elrond was to kill Isildur, he would have been, or the kingdom of men would have revolted against the elves. They would have went to war against the elves.
Very much.
That, as well as Elrond, probably would have taken up the ring and been corrupted.
Maybe. We don't know.
So that is why he
just
did not kill Isildur. It's like,
or
you
you
don't
could just
kill.
bum rushed him and pushed him into the fire.
I mean,
Lock,
you
stock, and
don't
barrel.
kill freaking the king of men right now. You don't kill everybody's savior right now because this dude just saved the fucking world in front of you all. I'm not about to kill this man, even though I probably should, to save the world again, or to ensure that the world's safety. However, he didn't, because he realized there was some very harsh implications if he did. That scene showing Elrond there was good for those who might not have noticed it. It's like a mid-movie recap. Yes, it is basically to let people know that this is why the hearts of men are easily corrupted. This shows it, the corruption of man.
Well, and the fun fact is the actor who plays Isildur, he doesn't actually speak. It's a voiceover, and it's Hugo Weaving that says no.
Yep. So then we see that it is up to all races of Middle Earth. We see the comings of Gimli, Elrond, or Gimli, Legolas, Sean Bean, Boromir. I just recently saw a GIF today, folks. Sorry for this, or not a GIF, but a meme where it's like Boromir's fighting down the mountain a little bit, and then you see Aragorn. He's like, he's played by Sean Bean, you idiot. We gotta get down there. It's like, oh, shit.
That's hysterical. I love that.
Oh my god, I nearly freaking pissed myself earlier today laughing at that. Like, oh my fucking god. He's played by Sean Bean, you idiot. We gotta get down there.
I got to see that.
Oh, it was on Facebook. And I'm like, oh my god, that was just so.
You need to put that meme in the group chat later. I want to see.
Yeah, I'll look for it. I'll look for it later on.
Okay, that's fine.
I can go to my actions thing in Facebook to find it. But anyway, we get the council. Now the council is like 40 pages in the book.
Yeah, it's long. It is
very long because they literally are recapping. They're recapping The Hobbit. They're recapping what went on during the 17 years. They're recapping all of that in the Council of Elrond.
Not to mention part of the Silmarillion.
Yeah, part of the Silmarillion as well. I mean, it's a huge. Basically, it is like the world's biggest recap in novel history. And so, I mean, also Bilbo is in the council, which a lot of people don't notice in the movie because he's not. I believe that what's his name? The dwarf that I liked in the Hobbit movies, the older one, Balin. He is also there, I do believe, because he was passing through, or
Gloin.
He was on his way there, Gloin.
I think it was Gimli and Gloin that were there.
Yeah. You're right, Gloin, because he said that Balin was going to retake Moria at the time, or had retaken Moria, and his cousins Oin, which Oin is also in this movie, and I'll show you where. But
he's a skeleton.
Gloin,
Very disappointed.
He is one of them. But anyway,
that makes me sad.
Gloin actually tells Frodo of how Bomber has become so big he can't leave his bed.
Jeez.
And it's like, damn, dude.
That's one fat. That's one fat dwarf.
Yeah, because he just couldn't stop. Cheese knife. He eats it by the block. Let's just say it as it is. He's a fat fuck, dude. But anyway,
he's Bomber the Hutt.
Yeah, we get to the main point of the
sorry,
how they needed to destroy the ring. there's a great freaking MTV skit of Jack Black and Sarah Michelle Gellar. Did you guys ever see that connected into the appendices of the lore or of the DVDs and Blu-rays?
I don't know if I ever have, but if I should have, because I was still am a little bit a huge fanboy of Sarah Michelle Gellar. She was my first
Spank Bank.
No,
anyway, I
did not do such a thing. I know. No, she was my first like big Hollywood actress crush.
Nice. So, but yes, I love that skit because he's like, Jack, you do have the ring, yeah, or don't you? Yes, I have the ring. However, some of my friends and we went down to the pub, had a little bit of too much mead. He drops trowel, and the ring is pierced to his little hobbit, shall we say?
So he has a Prince Albert.
Yeah, and they even say he's like, "Damn, it is a gift. Damn right, it's a gift. It's called the Prince Albert." And you see what they do is that they take a spike and they drive it through your penis. And he starts going, and she's like, "Oh, we don't need to know that, man." So they start arguing over what's going to happen. He's like, "You have my," or you see freaking Aragorn come down and kneel. "You have my sword." And my axe, dude, put down the axe. So then we see Sarah Michelle Gellar. It's like, it is really a charming piercing. You mind if I take a closer look? Well, of course, my lady. You might notice the fine craftsmanship. She rips the fucker off. And as you see it ripped off, you see the Eye of Sauron clip. And it's like, oh shit. And you see him just fall down. He's like, oh! And he just falls. Like, all right, let's get this.
All right, imagine. Okay. Imagine a humorous hypothetical. Sarah gets the one ring back after that happens. He's like,
I ain't wearing this. Like, I am not wearing this thing.
Why does my one ring smell like cum?
Yeah, right. So yes, MJ1, you are incorrect on Oin. But anyway, so into the real one, I like the argument where we see in the beginning, or in this scene where we see, and I will recite this, Boromir immediately goes for the ring. I mean, spouting I saw the land and the eyes go dark, and the dream that he had, but then Gandalf speaks up to stop him, and he starts speaking in black speech. Ajnaj Durbataluk, Ajnaj Durbataluk, Ajnaj Gimbatul, Ajnaj Drakataluk, Akhfarsum Ishi Krimbatul. And you see how Imladris itself is reacting. The land itself reacts to
it's going dark
to Gandalf. And he says, or you see how all the elves are reacting. You see the headache of
Frodo.
No, Elrond. And you also see Legolas react to, and it's like, and even Gimli, he's like, "What the hell's going on, man?" I mean, and he says, "Never before has anyone uttered the voice of that tongue here in Imladris. I do not ask your pardon, but this needed to." He's basically tells him this needed to be done. You all need to understand the implications of what's going to happen if this mission fails.
And for those that are not as well versed, I will give the English translation, and I'll give the full translation. 3 rings for the elven kings under the sky. 7 for the dwarf lords in their halls of stone. 9 for mortal men doomed to die. 1 for the Dark Lord on his dark throne, in the land of Mordor, where the shadows lie. 1 ring to rule them all, 1 ring to find them. 1 ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them, in the land of Mordor, where the shadows lie.
Yeah. And very good. And so we then are reminded, or we're then revealed that Aragorn, because Aragorn tells or tries telling Boromir, it's like, we can't wield it. None of us can, because it answers only to Sauron. He's like, and what Ranger, no such matters. This is no mere ranger. This is Aragorn, son of Arathorn. Well, yeah, Boromir's kind of his father's bitch, and it's like Gondor has no king, and Gondor needs no king. My father has been has been ruling Gondor, and he's been doing very well at it. Except that he admits later that his father is failing, or his father's rule is failing. And so we then see the formation of the Fellowship, because Frodo steps forward. He's like, I will take it, and I will take it to Mordor, though I do not know the way. And we get the pledges of support. And we see that Sam and Sam, Pippin, and Merry are all freaking sneaking in. And I love that reaction of Elrond. He's like, okay, is anybody else coming in here? Jeez, where are all these people coming from? But
even though he was coming to a secret council, you were not.
Yep. So then we get the Fellowship of the Ring, and we then see the extended edition, the tomb of Aragorn's mother, or the grave of Aragorn's mother, where he's cleaning it off, and he says, I don't want the power. I've never wanted it. It's like, bullshit. Yes, you do. So we then see the journey begins. I'm skipping through a lot of it, folks, because we got to get going, or we got to keep it going.
But we're not skipping everything. It's super important.
Yeah. So we get to the next level where the Crabine are searching for the Fellowship in the rocky areas. And I love that scene because it's a little bit extended, but you also see a little bit of the a little bit of lore here. It's like, we could go to Moria. I would not use the road to Moria unless I had no other choice, because he knows, Gandalf at this point already knows that Moria is being attacked. He is aware that Moria is still being fought over, except he doesn't know the extent. And not only that, the time from them leaving Rivendell to that time I do believe was about a month. So, or about a few days or weeks, I do believe. But anyway, they realize that the passage south is being watched and that they cannot go any further. So they take the path of Caradhras. And we then see that Saruman's, the Crabine, or the Crows, have reported to Saruman, and Saruman is on top of Orthanc. He's not trying to bring down the mountain. He is waking up Caradhras. Caradhras is a sentient mountain.
Yep.
What a lot of people don't realize. And so they're all on the mountain, and Saruman is speaking in Sindarin, I believe, and Gandalf speaks in Quenya, or is it the other way around?
No, yeah.
No, you've got it right, I'm pretty sure.
All right. And when you see Saruman up like this with his hands out, if you look at one of his fingers, he has a bandage over his finger because he broke, or I believe he either broke it or damaged it. And so you won't notice it unless you are eagle-eyed, folks, but it's there. And so he's casting a storm over Caradhras to wake it up, because Caradhras doesn't like anyone traveling him. And
he's a grumpy mountain.
Yes, he is a very grumpy mountain. And much like the mountains that were fighting in The Hobbit, essentially. Caradhras should be sentient, hence the stone giant. Yeah. Well, Caradhras was not used in The Hobbit. Those were, I do believe, different mountains.
Yeah.
But he is very much kin to them. So we then see they get buried, and he's like, if we cannot go under the mountain or over the mountain, let's go under it.
Let's go under it.
Let's go through the mines of Moria. And I love the narration of Saruman. It's like, Moria, you fear to go into those mines. The dwarves delved too greedily
and too deep. You know what they awoke at? You know what they awoke because of Doom, Shadow, and Flame.
And you even hear a little bit of the sound of the Balrog when he shows the picture. And this just goes to show you that even Sauron can see, or even though he has betrayed his essentially his spirit and his race, he still has its power at his disposal, where he can he knows exactly what Gandalf is thinking. Let the ring bearer decide. We'll go through the mines. Easy way out, and this is what it's going to cost. And he even tells Frodo, he's like, "How is your shoulder? Better than it was." And the ring, you sense its power growing. I have too. But he also tells him, he's like, "There are great powers in this world, Frodo. Powers greater than even I, and even some I have not yet been tested." And he's like, "Well, then, or what do you mean?" And they don't go any further. Dwarf doors are invisible when closed. Yes, Gimli, their own masters cannot, or can even forget, or can't even find them if their
secrets are lost.
Secrets are forgotten. Yeah. Why does that surprise me? Oh, shut up, Legolas. It's like, dude, seriously, you have to be an ass, because dwarves and elves don't get along, folks. And there is a reason for that too. Elves are Eru Iluvatar's creation. Dwarves are not his creation. Aule is the father, of dwarves, and he wanted to please Iluvatar, except he's like, I understand your intentions. However, this was not part of my design. So I will let you keep them. However, they will not be friends with my race or with my elves. Or essentially, he cursed dwarves, or he even cursed his elf or his creation, so that while they get along here and there, eventually something would happen to make sure that elves and dwarves do not get along. The only exception, I do believe, is Gimli and Legolas.
Yep.
They get along because they fight together side by side for so long.
They have to understand each other.
Yep. And interesting fact about Gandalf, he is the powers of God like Maya, but he has limits placed on him by Iluvatar, yes, and those limits are partially removed as he faces the Balrog in his effort to protect Frodo. And yes, I will also delve into this even further next week, because I will explain the difference between Gandalf the White and Gandalf the Grey. And believe me, folks, there is a very noticeable difference.
Oh, yeah. Power level, big time,
not just power level, but mentally as well. But anyway, we get to the mines where they cannot open it, and the Watcher comes out because Merry and Pippin are acting a fool.
Yeah, but they don't mean to. They don't.
Everyone pretty much just tells those two, do not disturb the water.
Yep. They weren't aware, so it's it's unforeseen consequences, essentially. It's like, we didn't know that there was a fucking huge squid monster in there. But anyway, they get into the mines after Pippin gets solves the riddle in the books. But I love what he's like, so nothing's happening. I once knew all the language tongues of elves, men, and orcs. And he's like, well, what are you going to do again? Knock your head against these doors, Peregrine Took. And if that does not shatter them, and I am allowed a little bit of ease from annoying, foolish questions, I will attempt to find the opening words. And so they give it to Frodo in the movie, but they end up finding...
actually finds it out in the book. And Frodo pretty much tells it, it's a riddle. Speak friend and enter. What's the Elvish word for friend?
Melon.
Yep. In the words of Dragon Ball Z, power levels be damned, yeah. But anyway, they get in and they find out that, Moria has essentially been sacked by goblins. And then the Watcher comes in.
Points it out, though. He said that this is no mind. It's a tomb.
It's a tomb. Yep.
That was Boromir's life, if I remember correctly.
Yes. So then they get locked in because the Watcher collapses the door, and it's a 4-day journey through there. And we also find out that Gollum is watching and following them. Somehow he got into Moria, even though the damn door collapsed. I'd love to know how, but
there was probably a back door somewhere, or a crack or a crevice that he crept through. Because let's face it, he's so damn skinny. He's
Yep.
so damn skinny he could fit through the cracks in the Great Pyramid, for Pete's sake.
And here's the thing, folks. Gollum was tracking them, or not just since Moria, or he was going through Moria. Actually, no, he was going through Moria as they were entering Moria. I do believe that is what was going on. He was trying to find the ring, and he was going through Moria to find, or to get to where he knew it would, or where he knew it was rumored to be, which was at Rivendell. But yeah, he tracks them for quite a long time. But I love the dialogue of Gandalf. He's like, he'll never be rid of his need for Smeagol's life is a sad story. This is part of the extended edition, and he's like, yes, Smeagol, his name was called, or he was once called, before the ring found him, before it drove him mad. And we then get some of the best lines. It's a pity Bilbo didn't kill him when he had the chance. Pity. It was pity that stayed Bilbo's hand. Some that die deserve, or some that live deserve death, and some that die deserve life. Can you give it to them, Frodo? I mean, he's
to deal out death and judgment.
Yes, and he is basically
Not even
speaking.
the very wise can see all ends.
He is speaking not just to Bill or to Frodo. He's speaking to the audience. It's like, or can you do what needs to be done when the time comes? Don't be too eager to do this. And he says, my heart tells me that Gollum's has a role yet to play for good or evil.
Yeah.
And then we get the greatest line. I wish the ring had never come to me. I wish none of this had happened. So do all who wish to see such time. But that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us. There are other works there are other things that work here besides the will of evil. Bilbo was meant to find the ring, which means you also were meant to have it. I mean, he says this to encourage him to continue this journey, because at this point, yes, Frodo is starting to feel the burden. And he realizes this is not a burden I want. This is not something I wanted to do. However, I will do it if I have to, but damn it, it is hard. Well, life is hard, dude. Suck it up. But anyway, they find out, or he's like, oh, it's that way. He's remembered. No, but the air is not so foul down here. When in doubt, Master Meriadoc, always follow your nose. We also had the scene where he showed the mithril veins of Moria, and how we're reminded that Thorin gave Bilbo a shirt of mithril rings, which in Rivendell, we skipped over this. Bilbo gives Frodo.
He gives Frodo the mithril vest as well as Sting.
And we also see the madness of Bilbo temporarily, which a lot of people say is the literal scariest moment in all of Lord of the Rings movies.
Yeah, that
one half second. It's like,
heck of a jump
like, give me that fucking thing. Because Frodo's like, yeah, I'm not letting you near this. Sorry, but give me that fucking thing. Like, oh shit, I'm sorry, boy. I did not mean to do that.
And the other thing I find funny is Gandalf also remarks that I had never told Bilbo this, but that mithril shirt was worth more than all the value of the Shire itself.
Yep.
Because mithril was the most valuable mineral that the dwarves ever found. It wasn't gold, it wasn't silver, it was jewels of any kind. It was mithril.
Yep.
Yeah, because it was so hard to find, so hard to come by, and so hard, as I understand it, to forge, because it was such a durable. It was such a durable mineral. It was almost like the fantasy equivalent of adamantium.
Yes,
you put a mithril. You put on a suit of mithril armor. You're pretty much invincible.
Pretty much.
I mean, think about it. You wear a suit and everything, even if it's just like the chainmail, and you wear just like plain, like standard plate mail armor over that, and you have a mithril helmet on, or even a mithril hood or whatever, and everything like a whole suit chainmail would cover you from head to toe. Essentially,
Mhm.
you're invincible.
Yep.
You
Essentially.
can't be killed.
Well, you
Only
can be killed. You're not invincible. You can feel
Well-
pain and whatnot, which we learn. But
Yeah.
so we get down into Dwaradelf, which is the
Oh man, that was
the
beautiful.
city of the dwarves,
That was
and we then see the tomb of Balin.
Mhm.
Now, I did tell you where Oyen would be, or I did tell you I would tell you where Oyen is.
He's
Oyen
there.
is holding the book.
Yeah.
That was Oyen. And he was the one writing in the book of what was going on. And I love that scene because it's like, we got to move on. We cannot linger. And we also hear Gimli praying in Dwarvish when he sees Balin's tomb. And it's like, well, what happened to Dwalin? You know, I would love to know whatever happened to Dwalin. I forget what happened to Dwalin.
He might have been in the same tomb. He might have been in the same tomb for all we know.
Yeah, probably.
His remains, or maybe his remains were outside of it, because I never noticed this until I got it on a decent diff on Blu-ray. Those were skeletons or corpses outside of Balin's tomb. It wasn't just orcs; it was dwarves too. So for all we know, Dwalin was out there.
Yep.
Which means pretty much every single member of Thorne's party didn't survive after retaking Erebor.
He was MJ. Or Mega Jetty. This may have been just in a fanfic. Tell me if it's in the books or not. But it's possible that hobbits discovered a mithril in a mine. No. They never did. Mithril was a very rare commodity, yet it was, or that vest or that shirt of mithril rings was one of their biggest it was one of their greatest achievements, essentially.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't, or mining it is dangerous. Not only dangerous, but they ended up waking up Durin's Bane. Because
it's so far down underground, it takes so much pressure to actually create mithril. It has to be that deep in the ground and everything for it to actually be formed.
Yep.
And like you said,
unfortunately,
they went too deep because they didn't realize.
Yeah,
they didn't realize that there was a Balrog, one of the last Balrogs, surviving and everything from the sinking of Berland, right in their own neighborhood.
And it was woken up due to the clanking of tools. It was not woken up because of a fucking leaf.
Who said that? I'm asking seriously.
It is shown in Rings of Woke that
that piece of garbage? Okay,
Durin tosses a leaf down there, or tosses a leaf aside, and it sinks down into the depths, and that's when it wakes up. It woke up because of a fucking leaf, and according to them. But anyway,
that's a biggest load of
good effects with it. Good effects with it. Don't get me wrong. Good effects with that Balrog. Dumb fucking reason to wake it up. But anyway.
That's going to be the biggest pile of orc crap I've ever heard.
Yeah. But anyway, or moving on to the real stuff, or to the good stuff here. We then see Pippin fuck up by twisting an arrow, which knocks off the head of a dwarf, sending it down the. He's curious, damn it. He's a fool of a toque. He's a fool of a toque. Now, what you all don't realize, old speak, toque means fool.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I knew
You're
that, but still,
for the viewers.
Yeah,
and
I get it.
It's or I love that he's like, next time throw yourself in and rid us of your stupidity. Boom, boom, boom. It's like, oh shit.
We
fucking woke him up.
Woke up the freaking orcs. Or okay. Are they orcs or are they goblins? Because we always call them either one, but which are they actually? Are they okay? So they're both. I thought orcs and goblins didn't get along.
Now, a lot of people don't realize this.
I know elves and dwarves don't get along, but I thought go ahead.
Orcs and goblins do get along. Orcs or Yuriks are the ones who are
Yeah, no,
They're always bickering amongst
displeased.
themselves.
They're displeased by, or they hate orcs because they're a reminder of what they were.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
But anyway, what a lot of people don't see in this movie is that Glamdring, the sword of Gandalf, also glows blue. They don't see it in the movie because they don't do it in the movie. They only focus on Sting glowing blue. And I'm like, Glamdring also would have glown or would have shown blue, as well as the one in the Hobbit movies, which was Orcrist. No orc would dare enter the tomb of Thorin because Orcrist would start to glow and it would scare them all out. So yeah, Orcrist is buried with Thorin, but the other two, Glamdring and Sting was only a dagger to elves. It was essentially the size of a dagger, because it's only, to be honest, it is only about this big. It is a dagger or a short sword size, between short sword and dagger, actually. But
it's around the same length, roughly, of a Roman gladius.
Yep, pretty much. And so we get some of the best fight in this, or this is one of the best or better fights in the movie. Moria, the Balrog, and the end fight with the with the Yurks are all freaking great fights.
Oh, yeah.
But I like this one a little bit better because when the cave troll comes in, the way that Peter Jackson described it was, it's kind of this naive friend who was misled by the orcs, and you do sort of feel for it when it gets killed because of its bemoaned death, where it's like oh, and then it dies, and it was or that whole fight is so great. It's like, let them come. There's one dwarf yet in Moria who still draws breath. Because this is Gimli in vengeance mode, man.
Yeah, he did great.
And there's a reason why John Rhys Davies is a beast, and it's not just because he plays Gimli. He's allergic to the prosthetic makeup that was all over his face.
Right.
He went through hell for this movie, and he did a great job. He was gifted at the end of all the productions of the movies. He was gifted his prosthetic makeup. He ran right over to a fire and threw it in the fire.
Yep.
He is like, we are not doing any more reshoots. Goodbye. I am done. This shit is going. I'm done. And I love that too, because it's like, the hell with you all. But also,
you would have thought they would give him something nicer, like his helmet or his axe or something.
Yeah. Also, he's missing the tip of his middle finger in real life.
Yeah.
So they had to put a prosthetic, which he pulled a prank on George with. But we'll get to that in Two Towers. So the fight in Moria, I absolutely love it. I mean, it shows everybody doing their great or in their element, and I love freaking Sam. He's like smacking everybody or smacking orcs and goblins with pans.
That's not just a frying pan. That's a cast iron skillet.
Yep.
That's got some weight to it. You hit somebody hard enough with it, you could kill them, even an orc.
Yep. And so then we also see when the ogre or when the troll stabs Frodo, the Mithril saves him. Oh yeah, everybody goes in vengeance.
Points out, you should be dead. Yep. That's spirit would obscure the wild boar.
Except that here's the thing: it didn't pierce him. However, he did have a nasty fucking bruise because of it. It didn't pierce him. It just caused him a lot of discomfort because of the mithril. Oh, yeah. That is why they're not invincible. You will still get bruised and badly hurting. You probably broke a couple ribs because of that stabbing.
Yeah, probably. But still, now, you're still very hard to take out.
Neozoic. The Balrog in the movie had wings. The Balrog in the book did not. To answer your question. Durin's Bane did not have wings. So I love that when they leap, or it's like to the bridge of costume and they run, you get the nice fanfare, and then they get surrounded by orcs and goblins, and then it's like you have Gimli give up, and it's like, what the, and then you hear it again, and the orcs are like, no, we gotta get out of here, man. We know what's coming.
Run, run for your lives!
Oh, shit.
The big fiery thing's coming.
It's like, oh shit, no,
is coming.
This thing is not loyal to us. We are out.
Bye.
Because because that Balrog would slaughter the orcs as well. How do you think it lived so long? It was feeding on them.
Right.
Well, not to mention it's a Maiar. Yeah.
And then pretty much though when they start hearing it, Boromir's like, what is this new devilry?
Balrog, a demon of the ancient world.
And when you see one of the few
Legolas, his reaction, that's the one thing elves fear.
Balrogs and dragons. Balrogs, dragons, and Morgoth and Sauron. Yeah.
Yep. This foe is beyond any of you. Run.
Run.
And it's like, yeah, run.
Because swords are no more good here.
Swords are of no use here.
Yeah, that was.
And I love that because we see the stairs that they came through starts to glow during the next scene. That's because the Balrog entered Dwarrowdelf, started laying waste to it because it's like, what was in here that woke me up? That Balrog gets around. They just don't show it. And I like the steps or the score inside Khazad-dûm where you hear these where they're going down the steps. It's very
the orchestra or
the
choir. The choir, that choir was a badass choir.
Yep, because they wanted to do the different for dwarves it was more visceral. Elves is more ethereal, men is more adventurous. Which is very nice.
If unless I'm mistaken, they're actually speaking Dwarvish. The choir is.
Yes, they are.
I don't know exactly I don't know what they're saying, but I do know it did sound like Dwarvish. So I was like, okay.
Yeah, it was. They did because that's how detailed friendly this is, all folks. And I like we get the funny moments. It's like where the steps are collapsing. And nobody tosses a dwarf. So he jumps and fucking Legolas.
He's like, not the beard.
Not the beard. Folks, imagine getting your beard grabbed. Imagine getting your beard grabbed.
Especially a long beard like Gimli's.
It doesn't feel good because you're pulling on a person's face.
On top of that.
That's a lot of hair. That's a lot of follicles.
Usually when I grow mine out, folks, I don't get a beard down here. It only stays out like here. But I have had to there was one time when I actually had my beard pulled by a young family member of mine when they were very young, and they pulled out a healthy chunk.
Ouch.
And it hurts. It hurts. It does hurt. It was. She liked to grab her father's beard, and so when she grabbed mine and she jerked in her sleep, and it's like, and I accidentally woke her up, but I couldn't. I tried to keep quiet, but she ended up waking up, and she was scared because she didn't understand why she was awake. But anyway, we then get to the reveal of the Balrog. Great design, because when it comes up and they turn around and it's like, you cannot pass. He's like, or I turned this into a GIF too, where he's like, and just flares up.
Oh yeah,
and
I have Balrog flexes.
Yeah, the Balrog flex is basically what it is. But I put it to where you don't see it until he's fully lit up, and it says, "Bring it, bitch." I mean, that's my GIF. I have that GIF.
Nice.
All right, I made that GIF, but I love that whole scene. It's like, I am servants of the sacred fire, wielder of the flame of Arnor. Dark fire will not avail you.
Flame of Moon. Go back
mean,
to the shadow. And he did alter a golf ball.
Yes.
Or a ping pong
And-
ball. It was a ball on a stick, essentially.
Yep.
I'm thinking this is an Academy Award winning actor or nominated actor, a veteran of the Shakespearean theater, a veteran of the stage. He gives a performance to a ball on a stick, and it's a great performance.
MJ, the flaming fissure has the Balrog. When he jumps out of that fissure, it's no longer burning. His fire, or the fire from the Balrog itself, was what was burning. He was climbing up the fissure, essentially.
Pretty much.
Because he had, or remember, he was stuck in Dwardelf. So then he had to backtrack and go back down deep in order to get closer, or to get to them. So, also, a lot of people are saying, why is he saying fly? It's like, because that is a much speedier way of saying flee. You can, or flee, you fools, or fly, you fools, meaning make haste as you flee. So, yes, that got me freaking tearing up when I saw it in theaters. It's like, wait, he died? No! It's like, no, you can't kill him. Exactly. So when I saw him, so when I was reading the books, because I started reading as soon as I saw when I saw Lord of the Rings, the movies, or the first movie, I immediately jumped into the books. And when I got to the second book before the second movie came out, I'm like, oh my God. It's like,
even Tolkien knew the idea of bringing back a popular character. Like,
exactly.
That second book, like when I saw that,
but here's the thing.
Not see that coming.
Yeah.
Here's the great thing, though. Yes, it was sort of a fake out death, but it was a death that was epic. It was a death that was awesome. It was a death that had meaning, and even his return was epic.
Except that it wasn't a fake death. He died.
Yes, he actually did die. He did die.
He was brought back by our Luvatar. We will get into that in the second one, folks. But in this one, everybody thinks he's dead outside of outside of Moria, which is actually a very famous battleground itself, because that was the exit to, or which was from The Hobbit, which was the reclaiming of Moria from Thorn, and when they tried to reclaim Moria.
Yeah.
Which Azog was not a part of that battle. In the history, Azog was not a part of that battle at all. But that was just something that they chimed in, which was stupid of them to do. But anyway,
so I'm not laughing. I'm laughing at MJ one's comment.
Yeah, he died, and this is supposed to be a kids movie. Well, yes, because it's supposed to get you. It's supposed to get those kids ready for death. Go ahead. Ask what's Sky How?
No, you're good.
So it's like, and I like what our Aragorn does. He's like, Legolas, get them up. Give them a moment, for pity's sake. We can't. By nightfall, this hill will be swarming with horse. We have to go. We cannot stay here. It's like, get on your feet, Sam. And Frodo at this point is so freaking heartbroken that he's just ready to fuck. Frodo was basically trying to leave so he could off himself at that point. The way that Elijah Wood just looked back, it's like, I'm done. I just lost one of the most important people to me.
I just killed my best friend.
Yep. Because that is exactly how he is feeling. He is feeling exactly that. I just got one of my greatest friends killed, and he was supposed to lead us to Mordor. So they reached Lothlorien. Now it's extended in the movie, which I do like, because you get the in the theatrical edition, they get in there, you get Galadriel speaking, and then it's like, this is one dwarf, she won't snare so easily. Eyes of a hawk, or ears of a hawk and the ears of a fox. The dwarfs breathe so loud, we could have shot him in the dark. And that's when Aragorn there starts speaking to Haldir. He's like, Haldir Lorien, we need your help. And instead, they cut it to it further inside Lothlorien, where they're speaking or introducing themselves. Legolas on his Thranduil. So much for the legendary courtesy of the dwarves. Speak words we can all understand. We haven't had dealings with dwarves since the dark days. And you know what this dwarf says to that? Ish kakli. I do. I know what that means. Do you?
No, I don't. Please tell me. I really want to know. All these years I've wanted to know. Please tell me. I am serious.
It's another screw up for the Hobbit for them to say this. It means I spit on your grave.
Oof.
It is the
That's
greatest.
Cool.
It is the greatest dwarven insult to elves.
Damn! Gimli
It's
brought
like,
the
I spit
pain.
on your grave. He's like,
Gimli
and you know
brought
what
the
this dwarf says
pain.
to that? I spit on your grave. And that's why freaking Aragorn's like, that was not so courteous.
No, but it was kind of deserved because I will say it. Okay, I understand the whole curse thing. I get that. I understand
The
it.
Lothlorien elves are very high, or they're very proud. They're very, they're
quite proud.
Yeah.
It's because of them being, or they're Valar. Those, or that branch of elves are Valar.
Close
I do
to
believe.
it. They're
Because
close to it.
I do believe Galadriel is a Valar.
She's close to it.
And her husband, Celeborn, is also Valar. I do believe. I'm not sure.
Close.
I can't remember. But yes.
They're not full Valar, but they're pretty damn close.
Yes. So
they can still
yes.
theoretically die, but because they still live underneath that same condition as all other elves do, that they will
But
that
how
they
is
if
it
they're
very
killed in combat.
insulting if they are still alive? Because they are, or because dwarves are, or that statement basically says, we do not honor you ever. We do not respect you ever. We will, or if you die, good. A good elf is a dead elf, essentially. That is why it is insulting to them, because it is a dwarf reaffirming that he will, or that they will never respect them.
Yeah, essentially.
So, yeah.
Because the only way an elf can die is in combat. They cannot succumb to old age. They cannot. I don't think they can. They can't die by poisoning. They can only die in combat. If I understand, if I understand the condition correctly.
Combat is their only, or is the only death for them.
Yeah.
So
they live forever.
Unless, well, there is another way that they die.
Oh, right. If they give up, because
they give up their light. They give up their immortality. 2 elves did that. It's
going to be covered essentially in 2 towers.
Yeah, or no, this will be covered in Return of the King.
Oh, Return of the King, sorry.
Because yes, there is mention of Berian and Luthien in this, but we will discuss that in Return of the King. And yet it would be Gimli and Legolas's journey that would make them rebuild the relationships. Yes, it would.
Exactly.
But also it would, or that relationship would be too late, because Legolas is the only elf that that stays in Middle Earth.
Just about, yeah. I think everybody else left.
Yeah, every other elf left, except for Arwen.
Yeah.
But anyway, getting back to it.
Question there. It was just more of like infatuation, really.
No, he was indeed in love with her. She couldn't, or she wouldn't return it because, or obvious reasons, she's married. But she gives him, or the gift giving is indeed, she gives him three hairs. But I do like
there's some lore behind that, actually. This is from I don't know this myself. I learned it on another channel. It's called Men of the West. It's a Lord of the Rings lore channel. Great channel, honestly. There's an old tale and everything. It's from, I think, like the first age or second age, somewhere along there. There was another elf that was another elf that was in love with Galadriel, but he was kind of an ass, and he asked for a hair from her head, and she refused him. So when Gimli asks her for one of her hairs, she gives him three to kind of be a poo-poo or whatever on the spite the other guy, even though we don't know if the other elf's even still alive per se. But she gave this
basically
deal.
What he was asking for other elves would find that extremely insulting to ask that of their queen. And that only shows that she is willing to, in good faith, but also in kindness, because she asked him, it's like, what would a dwarf ask of the elves? And he was civil about it. He's like, nothing except to look upon you one last time, for you were the fairest. And
that's a hell of a thing.
So he's honest in his request. May I have one of your hairs? So she grants him 3. And he kept it till the end of his days, which he also is the only dwarf to enter the Undying Lands, because Legolas takes him in his old age. But anyway, getting back to it, we get the lament for Gandalf and how Sam does a nice little thing for him, and fucking Gimli is snoring, and I love Aragorn. He's like, asshole, just freaking
okay.
hits.
He wasn't being a jerk. He was just snoring. But yeah,
he was sleeping. Yeah, he was sleeping. But it's like,
do you mind?
Fucking asshole.
Don't you even care? Our best friend is dead.
Yeah, and
everybody
so also when you see Legolas reacting to Gandalf's death, you see that he's kind of confused because he has never experienced the death of a close friend or of a friend.
Yeah.
So it is
pretty much so when the hobbits were asking, though, what did they say about him? Or Frodo asks Legolas.
I have not the heart to tell you.
For me, the grief is still too near.
And then we also see Boromir is freaking out when he is in Galadriel's presence, because Galadriel, while looking at everybody else, is telling him, "You're fucked," or rather, your land is fucked because your father is an asshole. But not in those words, obviously, but he is basically saying, yeah, he's saying that. Or go ahead.
Essentially, what she's saying, you're kind of screwed, but at the same time, you're not entirely screwed. There's still a chance that your people will get out of this.
And it all hinges not on you, but on another person. Yeah, that guy next to you. He's not you. But anyway, he says, he's like, I will find no rest here. I heard her voice inside my head. She talks about the fall of Gondor. This shows that this man is so loyal to Gondor. He wants to do what's best for his people, for his land.
Yeah.
While flawed, he is indeed noble.
He is.
However, he is unfortunately wanting that ring. He's got a boner for that ring, dude. And it's not a good one.
Yeah, almost as bad as his father. But we'll get to that when we get to that.
Yep. And so he tells him, he's like, I have seen the White City long ago. Boromir is in his 80s, folks. So yeah, he was.
You mean Aragorn?
Yes, Aragorn. Boromir, I believe, is in his 40s. But he's I like that. And then we get to the scene of the mirror, or Galadriel's mirror, where we see what is essentially the scouring of the Shire.
Yeah.
Which was how it was filmed. However, they turn it into a different scene because you also see that Sam is there and Rosie is there, pregnant. But it is what will happen if you should fail. And she warns him of the breaking of the fellowship. And we then see Galadriel's test, where it is very watery because she has the ring of water and adamant.
Yeah.
And she is also, that is her element, which is water.
You would have a dark.
And instead of or in place of a dark lord, you would have a queen.
Not dark, but beautiful and terrible as the dawn. Treacherous as the sea, stronger than the foundations of the earth. All shall love me and despair.
And then she reverts back to herself, and she had passed the test. She will diminish and go into the west and remain Galadriel, meaning that was her greatest test. The ring called to her, and she was able to resist it. That was her one final test before she could go into the West.
Yeah.
So basically, if Frodo never turned up on her doorstep, she couldn't leave. She was bound to Earth until she had passed her final test. And to everybody else who think that ROP is some sort of a thing or some sort of a guide to go by, her final test is not the destruction of Sauron. Her final test was to resist his will. Fitting, Galadriel is the element of water, like equivalent to Lady of the Lake. Yes, essentially.
Yes, pretty much.
It's an Arthurian parallel.
It
So we then see that he's like, I can't do this alone. You are a ring bearer. To bear a ring of power is to be alone. Well, that's easy for you to say. You're married, bitch. I mean, it's like, aren't you married? Is he not giving it to you?
Mm-hmm.
How are you alone? I mean, I would like to know. I will not, and I refuse to as well, MJ.
Nope.
I made a promise
That
to
is
Tolkien's
not-
memory.
That is not.
That is not Tolkien.
I made a
ROP is not
promise to
Tolkien.
Tolkien's memory that I would not watch a full episode of that show. And
I've never watched it ever since they mentioned it.
The
I've
only
seen
thing I ever
clips.
watched was the only thing I ever watched were reviews, primarily by
Yep.
Mara
I've
and
seen
a few other
clips.
channels.
Yep, I've seen clips because I know that they are unavoidable. But my promise is I will not watch a single or full episode of that show, and I will indeed not do that. But anyway, we then get to the gift giving where
everything Tolkien stood for.
Yep, where
if I could
we get
find
the
the
light.
hard drive that's stored on and infected with a virus and erase it from existence, I would do it happily.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, back to the thing.
Sorry.
The light of Ariandel is,
Yeah.
or remember that elf that destroyed Encalagon?
Hmm.
That is his light.
Oh.
Our most beloved star. He was named for that star because it shines brighter than anything else. Let it be a light for you when all of the lights go out. And that was the only gift giving in the theatrical edition, where everybody else get lembas bread and the daggers of Noldarine and some elvish rope, real elvish rope made of heathline, and also the gift from Celeborn to Aragorn, the dagger.
I love that dagger.
It is beautifully crafted.
You're not missing anything.
I know. I'm just as agitated as you are.
Hey, Madam Ambassador.
Lauren says hi. Sorry.
And so it's all right. And so we also learned
there was
that
also that part where Galadriel does mention to Aragorn that she sees what Arwen gave her. She's like, I have nothing, to
greater
give
to give than the gift you already bear.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm laughing at MJ's comments.
Yeah, I see it. Lasso of truth. But so I feel like Celeborn, other than having a few words of dialogue and giving Aragorn his dagger, doesn't really get much to do. Hence, she said she's alone. He is a lot more important in the books. Let's just say that.
Yes.
But anyway, she does basically, or what a lot of people don't realize is Galadriel is Arwen's grandmother.
Yep. I knew that.
So yeah, they are 2 generations apart, and family tied too.
Isn't she Elrod's wife's mother?
No, she is Elrond's, or her sibling is Elrond's mother. I do believe.
Elrond and Elrond, wasn't it? Because didn't Elrond become the first king of Numenor?
Who was Elrond's parents? Arendelle and Elwing.
Yeah, because Elrond is actually half elven. because he's referred to as Elrond the half elf because his
Yes.
mother was
They
mother
were
was
half
mortal.
or both. Yes.
Yeah, both
Yeah,
him and his
or
brother were
having both men and elves. No, they are half elven because they were both, or they having both men and elves as ancestors.
okay. I thought their mother was mortal.
I am guessing that Baron and Luthien are their ancestors.
And
I'm
that's
guessing.
very possible. Well, wait a minute.
I mean, that's
did Baron
only
and Luthien have
speculation.
any children? Did Baron Luthien have any kids? I don't remember them ever mentioning
That I
them
do
having
not know.
kids.
That I do not know. But we are the diehard
Sorry.
Tolkiens will know, or the diehard Tolkienites will know.
Yes, they will.
But anyway, so yes, she basically says you have another test before you, Aragorn, to rise above all your fathers since the days of Elendil, or to fall into darkness with all that's left of your kin. Basically, she is saying you have to take up your birthright. In the movie or in the books, he's all willing to do that. He is very much willing to do that. In the movie, he is doubted, or he is in doubt.
Which gives his character some much needed
Growth.
Yeah.
Character growth. But anyway,
Yeah,
so there's a passage in the book where Frodo talks about Galadriel being one of the ring bearers, and they excoriate him for that. It's like, do not ever speak aloud about that again. Or because you never know who will be listening, because they are, or he is actively searching for those three.
Yeah.
Those are the three that he seeks above, or that he seeks not above his own, but he seeks them just as much because those are the three that defy him the most, because they are not tied to him as the others are. So,
yeah, because the dwarves, they lost most of theirs, but even when they did have them,
dragon,
they were so stout of will that he couldn't sway them. That was one of the, I mean, just their natural inborn nature. They were very stout-willed and everything, so it was very hard for Sauron, when he had the One Ring, to try and sway the dwarf lords and everything who had the 7 rings. Aside from the elves, that was the only group that could really defy him.
They could defy him outright. The dwarves did as well. However, he's like, God damn, you guys are freaking stubborn assholes. But the dwarves are like, yeah, screw you off. Or screw you, off with you. Now, another thing that a lot of people didn't know is that Erebor in the Council of Elrond, I do want to go back to that for a moment. Erebor had a visit. And it was this rider, hooded and cloaked. One of the wraiths showed up at Erebor.
Really? That I didn't know.
And that is why Gloin and Gimli showed up at the council, because one of the wraiths were looking for the ring at Erebor, as well as looking for one of the dwarven rings. But what's his name? King of the Iron Hill, or Dane, because he was
Dane
the king,
Ironfoot.
or he became. Dane Ironfoot was the king of Erebor after Thorin died. He basically told that, or he told the wraith to kick rocks. Essentially, he said, "Be gone from this land, or you will be struck."
I believe you get hit. I think even those dwarves would probably have a better time taking on that Nazgul.
No, the wraith did as ordered, because he had no more, or he realized it wasn't there.
No, but what I'm saying is, theoretically, those dwarves could have kicked that wraith's ass, or at least held their own better than anybody else could have.
In numbers, sure, but that wraith would have slaughtered a lot of them.
Yeah,
they are not to be trifled with. Those wraiths are the greatest of his army.
No, I'm saying that, but what I'm saying is, theoretically, in a fight, the dwarves could have had themselves. Yeah, a lot of them would have gotten killed, but still, they would probably eventually wear him down enough to have been like, "Yeah, screw this, I'm leaving."
Yep. But back to it. We get the nice shot of the Argonath, which was so freaking good. We see the bird's nest in one of their eyes.
Yeah, I think it was Elendil's eye.
Yep, Elendil's eye, or because it was Elendil and Isildur.
Isildur, yeah.
And we also see the extended scene where they're
Gollum's
tracking them. Yeah,
yeah. I would not take that ring within 100 leagues of your city.
Yep.
Dang, there's some good burns on this. Somebody should do a compilation of all the good burns from Lord of the Rings.
Right.
Oh, that'd be fun.
So then we get to the. It also explains why Aragorn and Boromir are kind of not talking to each other in the next scene.
Yeah.
It's because they had just had a huge fight. And also we see why Boromir is thinking to himself like really heavily when they reach the shores of Rauros. The ring wraiths are referred to in Rohan as Dwemerlike. Yep, nice.
Yeah, good one.
Now we then get the scene where Boromir can no longer resist. He goes after Frodo, and Frodo puts on the ring to get away. However, also Isengard has been unleashed unleashes the Uruks after them. By the way, Gollum was also at Lothlorien, skulking around the borders, which was reported in them.
He couldn't have gotten in.
Oh, he could have. However, they would have killed. No, they would have killed him.
Yeah. Okay, let me say it this way: he could have gotten in, but he wouldn't have lasted 2 seconds. Those elves would have
pretty much. Yeah.
The only reason. Or basically, the orders were kill him if he enters, or kill him if he crosses the borders, because Galadriel knows of him, and also, but she also doesn't want him murdered outright. She said, or she only gave the order: kill him if he crosses. That's it. Otherwise, leave him be.
Mm-hmm.
And he was smart enough not to. So, yeah. So we get to the fight, and basically it's like, okay, guys, Vigo, get him! And all the orcs are like, fuck, I'm out. Yeah. They're like, fuck it, I'm out. I'm not fighting this man. This man is freaking insane. Because he's hitting him. So was Brett, John Rhys Davies' stunt double, who plays Gimli, scale size, the smaller guy. He's cracking him too. I mean, the Uruk-hais are taking a punishment, folks. Not kidding. They didn't hold back, and that is why they were so freaking scared of Viggo Mortensen. Viggo Mortensen is what's known as Uruk Spain.
Essentially, yes.
Spain. You got Durnsbane, which is Balrog. You got Uruk-Spain, which is a man. But also,
not just any man, the most baddest man in the history of men.
Yep.
And the king.
Before we get to that, we got to go through Alisar's test, which was the ring calling to him. And when it says Alisar, he closes the ring around Frodo's hand, and he told him, "I would have gone."
Frodo pretty much asked him though. He tells Aragorn outright, "Is taking Boromir," and Aragorn's asking him, "Where is the ring?" And he tells him, Frodo's telling him, "Stay away."
Because it was kind of menacing how he said it. It's like, "Where is the ring?" Mm-hmm. It's like, dude, calm down now.
And
put that boner back in your pocket.
Him, he's like, "Would you destroy it?" And Aragorn, that's where he mentioned about the test. And once he closes the hand, he's like, "I would have gone with you to the end, into the very fires of Mordor."
Yep.
And you know he would have done it. And that's why we stand Aragorn just a little.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Frodo pretty much tells, and before the fight, Frodo pretty much tells Aragorn, look after the others, especially Sam. He will not understand.
Yeah. And all this time, Sam is looking for them during all this freaking time of this entire fight. Sam didn't fight a single fucking orc. He's looking for Frodo. It's like, Mr. Frodo, Mr. Frodo, Mr. Frodo, where the fuck are you?
Yeah, but he has the most important job if you think about it.
Yeah.
That's true.
Like,
he does have one job,
okay.
as Gandalf
And
pretty much told
can
him
we just
at the start.
Yeah.
And can we just say only Viggo Mortensen as Aragorn can make shining another man's name awesome? Elendil! And then crashes down all those Uruks.
Yep.
That was awesome.
And
That
then
was
Legolas
brilliant.
and Gimli show up, and it's like, yeah, come on, bring it, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
And so he's managing to run down.
You get
It's
an
so
arrow,
freaking
and you get an arrow, and you get an axe to the head, and you get a sword in the stomach, and you get another arrow. Sorry.
To answer your question, Mega Jetty, he can crawl on rock walls.
Yep.
He
It's
doesn't
like a
need the
four-legged
bridge.
spider.
Yeah, he could crawl along the walls. He is a climber. His body is built for it because of the many years of decay. But
And not
he's
eating.
also
Well,
yeah, he's very light. I do believe it's speculated that Gollum weighs approximately like 20 pounds.
soaking wet.
Soaking wet, indeed. But anyway, the fights are amazing in this scene. I really
Yes,
do
they
like
are.
the fights in this scene. And we then get Boromir's redemption and his last stand when the other hobbits are like, come here, quick. What's he doing? He's leaving. No! It's like, dude, you fucking... All right, now run. Run. I'm not saving your ass. Get your ass down the hill. You guys, you're stupid. Get. It's like, fucking idiots. But I do love that because, remember, bring them to me alive and unspoiled. Kill the others. What does that one Yorick plan on doing when he's getting right up to Merry and Pippin? Gonna get you with an axe, boys! That Yorick would have been killed.
Yep.
If Boromir, or if it had succeeded. And it wouldn't have died just by or Lurtz would have shot it dead. It's like, you fool, we need to find them and bring them alive and unspoiled, meaning unharmed. Oi, that Yorick apparently did not get the memo. So thank you to Boromir for dispatching that one. Now, suddenly, rocks thrown by hobbits are enough to cause Yoriks to fall. Not buying that for the least, but still a fun scene.
Yes.
The clothing of the Horn of Gondor. After the very funny meme that I will send to you guys after. It's like, he's playing my champagne, you idiot! We gotta get down there. But yes, the Lurtz coming up the hill, pulling back, and I like how he pulls back like this instead of like this. He pulls back like this to shoot, and it's like badass, creepy, scary, horror-inducing. I like it. Give me more. But we see it's like, dude, I can't help but tear up every time I see the death or the Boromir's last stand, because it's the last shot that cloves his horn that goes into him, and it's like, god damn, dude, that is just like... Sean Bean dies in almost every one of his things.
Except I don't remember who mentioned it earlier on in the chat and anything. Unless it's a Greek mythology or a national treasure.
Yep, or
because he played Odysseus in Troy.
Yep.
Which, fun fact, starred Orlando Bloom.
Yep. And so him taking 3 arrows and still just freaking ripping into it, man. Great stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Damn
and
right.
Then when Lurtz is about to finish him off, I love that. He's like, yeah, I'll bet you're about to die. And
here comes Aragorn, like, no, you the hell don't.
It's like, blitz, bitch! But yeah, I love that fight between Lurtz and Aragorn, because
Lurtz is brutal, especially the extended version.
Yeah, because he tackles him, And then he's like, yeah, right. Hit me all you want. I'm not feeling it. He's smacking freaking Aragorn around, man. And he throws that shield, and it's like, yikes.
Yeah.
Because it's like, he's coming in full tilt. Shit. Because he would have taken his head off. He would have taken, or the actor would have taken Viggo's head clean off because he was coming in full tilt. And it's like, oh shit, dude. And
then
so,
he stabs him through the calf with that dagger and everything, and then Lurtz pulls it out and licks it like, okay, you freak.
It's yummy. Now the fun thing is, if Viggo hadn't slapped that aside, Viggo would be dead because he threw it a little too accurately.
Just a little.
And it was a real one too.
Oh yeah.
So he's like, it's like, oh shit, yeah. Baseball Hall of Fame Viggo Mortensen, boys. That man saved his own life on a movie set once because an actor was a little bit too accurate.
Well, twice technically, because as you said, he was going full bore with this organ ready to take his head off potentially.
Yep, and I like that because he throws it and he smacks it in the side and he's like, damn! I'll get you with the sword. And so we get the sword and it's like, Soink! Bitch! I love how he grabs the sword and just pulls it. Like, yeah, what are you going to do? And he's like, okay.
Okay, fine.
Off with the head. Now, folks,
Aragorn would be a good Jedi.
I originally thought he actually cut the dude's head off in the movie. But if I are watching it recently, I see the clever cut. I see the clever cut in between the two moments. And it's like, yeah, that's good. God damn, I thought he actually killed the man. So we get the...
there would have been a bigger controversy.
That movie never would have been released. But thoughts on the movie killing off Boromir at the end of Fellowship instead of the opening of the Two Towers. They had to do it because this is the moment, or this entire moment was into Two Towers. Yes, in the books. However, they wanted to keep it at the end of the movie because, well, the breaking of the Fellowship was more complete.
It was a good closure point, too.
Yes, it really was. And I love how Aragorn takes his first steps in the movie to accepting his fate as king. Nor our people fail. He's not telling Boromir what he wants to hear. He means it. I do not know what strength is in my blood, but I promise you I will not see the White City fall nor our people fail. And so he tells him, I would have followed you, my brother, my captain, my king. And
you don't get choked up. There's something wrong with your heart.
Oh, yeah. He takes his bracers.
Yeah.
He takes Boromir's bracers and then gives him the warrior's funeral. Now, what they don't show in the movie, they take all the blades of the surrounding Uruk-hai and put them in that bow as well, which is a warrior's gift. These are the blades of the fallen that you had killed. You get to take them with you. Now, when Aragorn is running over to him, there's an Uruk-hai, or there's a dead Uruk who is supposed to frickin' stay still, but he didn't. And it's like, would you fucking stay still? I mean, I can imagine Peter Jackson, because when you see the others coming up, that Uruk is not in that scene. I'm guessing it's like, cut, motherfucker, you get out of here. Get to your freaking trailer and get your freaking makeup off and get to Madam Spanky whatever, because you are an asshole. I mean, you fucking ruined the take. Because you see that dude literally going like, yeah. And it's like, aren't you supposed to be dead? Fuck, stay still. But yeah, the Merry and Pippa got taken by the Uruks, and they just start running right back to Isengard. They're taking the hobbits to Isengard. But anyway, that's for next week's, folks. Very funny, bad lip reading video. They're taking the hobbits to Isengard. But anyway, I love that. So it's all been in vain. The fellowship has failed. Not if we hold true to each other. Now leave all that can be spared behind. Travel light. Let's hunt some orcs. And I love that look that freaking John Rhys Davies gives to
Yes.
Legolas. Yes. It's like,
I get to do the one thing I'm good at: killing
and natural sprinting. So then we see now, folks, when I was watching this in the theaters, I'm like, okay, so they're on a mountain, and then it fades to Enya singing "May It Be." I love that song too. I have that in my
that
playlist.
sounds so good.
But when it's like, wait, weren't they supposed to get to Mordor? What the fuck? Why is this movie ending? I don't want this movie. I don't want. Get the next thing. What the hell's going on? I was freaking out at the end the theater when I first saw this movie because I never read the books. And it's like, wait, what? No, I want more. Give me more.
You have to wait a year.
Yeah, it's like.
Well, the funny thing was though, is like when I first saw it, I had a feeling that there was a couple more books. So it's like, as soon as I read the first one, that I knew that it continued. I was like, okay, it makes sense.
But also
that I did that.
Also, I forgot to cover the reaffirmation of Frodo, where Frodo is basically remembering the ring and he remembers Gandalf's words and then goes in, but he's leaving Sam behind. Now, folks, Sam running down into the lake.
There was I remember seeing the part. There was a shard of glass.
Yep, and it went right through his foot because they show it in the appendices where he's running down and he stops and he's turning around and he's like,
which means there was something there.
Yeah, it's like he had to get helicoptered out of there.
Well, not only that, he was the only one. I can't remember if it was Peregrine, the actor. Is Dominic Monaghan plays Peregrine?
No, that's Billy Boyd.
It was Billy Boyd. Okay,
Mary.
Yeah. Okay. All right. This is actually in the cast commentary when they're doing the scene for Buckleberry Ferry, and they're all running onto the ferry. One of them, I think it's Billy Boyd. He kind of exaggerates it in the commentary for a laugh, but he gets a splinter stuck in the bottom of his hobbit foot.
Oh yeah, he's like, yeah, I do remember that from the commentary. But yeah, when that scene where he's like, "Go back, Sam. I'm going to Mordor alone." Of course you are, and I'm going with you. You can't swim. And so when you see that underwater, that's dry for wet.
Yep.
He's not in water. And then you see I actually turned that into a GIF where the hand comes in and grabs him, and he grabs it. That is one of my GIFs where it says, "Always here for you." Basically, it's like, I'll pull you out if you need me to.
Right.
Howard Shore scores legendary as John Williams Star Wars. The man is gifted. Yes, he is, dude. Or Howard Shore is one of the greats as well. Yes, and John Williams is now retired. God bless him because he's like 92. But Howard Shore's score is great. But it's like, I made a promise, Mr. Frodo, a promise. Don't you leave him, Samwise Gamgee. And I don't mean to. And you see, Sam, and that's where all the freaking assholes online are like, why couldn't they kiss each other?
Because I'm not gay.
I want to say it, folks, but I'm not going to. Because I am the better person here.
I'll say it in the chat for you. Okay, I'll say it in the private chat for you.
Yeah. It's like, fucking. But anyway, it's like they're just good friends. That's it. They're just good friends. And yeah. Yes, exactly. And so it's like that scene really does get your tears jerking there too. And but then we get the fellowship breaking, and I like how when the way that the score adds the drums in that final bit, in the or when they're climbing up into Emyn Muil, and then it's like, it is so great, man. This movie ends with such a or not a cliffhanger, but definitely they're definitely. Yeah, I know they're not gay; they're hobbits. But yeah.
Well, that's actually a line from Clerks 2.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, dude. Ben Stiller and somebody else who played Hutch or Starsky or whatever.
Owen Wilson.
It's because of those two fuckers that pushed the whole LGBTQ thing to want gay hobbits. Those two are to blame for this because they did a mock thing with Peter Jackson. It's like, when are we going to get the sequel to Lord of the Rings? The ring was destroyed. So off on a Hobbit, and then it's like Hobbit on Hobbit, and it shows fucking Frodo and Sam. And I'm thinking to myself, I remember that shit years ago. And
Up your ass with a railroad spike.
Those damn fucking fools actually got a following because of it.
You know what I say to those damn effing fools? Up your ass with a railroad spike.
Yeah.
No, but there's that clip. There's that whole clip from Clerks 2 where Eli. No, it's the young clerk and everything works at the movies with Dante and Randall, and the other guy comes in. He's a huge Lord of the Rings fan, and Randall goes on this huge rant and pisses off the other guy so much he actually makes him throw up.
Wow. Anyway, yeah, Ben Stiller gave us Tropic Thunder. Sure, yeah, he's a good actor. It's just that was the dumbest freaking thing I've ever seen with the whole. Well, why don't we just do Hobbit on Hobbit? It's like, fuck off.
This is not Lord of the Rings Brokeback Mountain edition.
You're right. It isn't. It's not Brokeback Hobbit. It's but this movie is. I love the Lord of the Rings movies. I really do. And I'm in a group on Fans of Middle Earth on Facebook, and everybody's given, or some people have given me shit who are fans of ROP, and they're like, "Well, Lord of the Rings isn't perfect either." It's like, you're right. Lord of the Rings is not perfect. In fact, Tolkien would fucking hate it. But here's the thing: Peter Jackson did these movies with respect to Tolkien in mind.
Yep.
He wanted to do the best interpretation he could, and he realized some things would have to change, and he probably realized that Tolkien himself wouldn't hate it, but he wanted to make it as close as he could. And he put none of his own agenda in it. He put none of his own thoughts at all in it.
Yes.
He's like, we went into this with no thought of our own agenda or no political thoughts or whatever. We wanted to be true to Tolkien.
Yes.
ROP and their showrunners and all are the exact opposite. And that's what I point out to them. They admit to not even having the rights to the source material. They admit that they want to tell a better story than Tolkien ever could. I'm sorry, folks. To hell with those ROP fools at Amazon. In fact, the speculation of the original script or of the original deal between Amazon and the Tolkien estate, if you screw with the timeline in any shape, way, or form, we pull the project. You don't get to make it. After Christopher Tolkien died, apparently that became null and void. And the grandkid of Tolkien basically said, do as you please.
Ass hat.
And there's a Tolkien, unfortunately, that is an asshat. Now, we then get the beautiful song, May It Be. I mean, I love that song. It is such a great song to listen to. My apologies if this question is too early to ask, but how would you guys compare Lord of the Rings trilogy with Star Wars original trilogy or maybe prequel trilogy? As much of a Star Wars fan as I am, and I am a Star Wars fan, I still always will be a Star Wars fan of Lucas era Star Wars. Lord of the Rings trilogy is better.
Second.
With all due respect to Mr. Lucas, thirded. Passed.
Yeah.
As much as I love these movies, and I do, you don't have no idea how much I do. Well, Orange Hat does.
I do.
Skyhand, I think, has an idea. But yeah, Lord of the Rings, not The Hobbit, not ROP, The Lord of the Rings is as near perfect to a trilogy as you can get.
Indeed.
Mhm.
And it is well done. It is shot well done. I mean, sure, there are a little bit of flaws here and there. There are changes to the lore and whatnot. Sure, I can acknowledge that, but it was done with all the respect intended.
Yes, it was.
Now, don't get me wrong.
They're loved.
Yeah, I love Star Wars. I'll always love Star Wars. I've loved Star Wars since I was 2 years old. And
I'm old. I think I'm older than you, so it was 7 for me. So,
no, I was 2 in 1987. I saw them for the first time when I was 2 years old.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I obviously am older than you because I was born in 78.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
me. So yeah, not to mention yes, there was envelop or elements from Lord of the Rings that inspired George Lucas, but
you're damn right.
He is
Lucas knew his crap.
Yep. Now, yes, it is better than Star Wars. And a lot of people give the prequels a lot of crap, but me, I also like the prequels.
Same.
Now, while me and Ambassador agree here, we differ on Disney. He has no problem with Disney. Me, I don't acknowledge Disney as Star Wars.
Well, I have one sticking point, and you know what that sticking point is, and that's the trilogy itself. The shows I haven't had a big problem with. It's just some of the storytelling has been less than stellar.
I want to talk to you a little bit about that after we sign off, but because we are signing off like right now. But
okay. Yes.
Before we do, I am going to give everybody a chance to plug their stuff. Ambassador, is there anything you want to plug before we get going?
Yeah, go over, check out my channel, The Ambassador Wing. I do movie reviews, and I categorize them as such: retro, ultra retro, and modern. And that's primarily the focus of my channel. I do other things occasionally, but that's the main focus: cinema, film, movies that I love, movies that other people love. Tomorrow night, 7:30 Central Time, I'll be doing a ultra retro review of the 1950s classic Forbidden Planet. So be sure to tune in for that. And I've got my lineup for November. It's going to be called No Sequel November. It's going to be action films, suspense films, political thrillers from the 1990s. So be sure to check out my social media on Twitter, or X if you prefer to call it that, and on Instagram, because I do post updates and everything for all my stuff. And my handles on Twitter are Ambassador Kosh7, all one word, and the Ambassador Kosh on Instagram.
Alrighty, and Skyhound.
Yeah, in my case though, I'm trying to finish up my little review for a certain anime that I've seen back in the early 2000s for this Halloween. Now, as for November, there's actually a couple, well, not a couple, but probably 3 little projects I want to try to work on. One of them is a little tribute to the late Jason David Frank. And then there's another one that I'm planning on trying to do with actually a certain manga that has turned 20 next month. And there's a few otakus that know of it. So I'm definitely going to be working on that. I'll try to work on that one as well. But one other thing I want to mention, since we also know that the passing of Kevin Conroy as well, roughly in November, I'm thinking in the back of my head, Orange Jet, maybe if you want to try doing one with me, we can probably do one, whether it's on, I don't know, I guess like a favorite Batman episode, or maybe with regards to doing, Sub-Zero, if interested.
All right. Let me know when that is.
Of course.
Yeah, let me
know
right. Too.
And as for the chat, thank you to MJ Media, Neozoic, Christian, Fuck Norris, and anyone else, Chris Daly, and everybody else in the chat. I wish I could get to you all. Y'all are you guys are the loyals, man. You guys are the ones that keep this channel going, because believe me, there have been times where I wanted to hang it up. But You guys are
Same.
the ones that keep me going, as well as my friends who are help me on here. As for me, I have the Aliens versus Military Tuesday, and next month is going to, or the theme changes to Jason Bourne Tuesdays. So I'm not
Love
going
those
to be
movies.
covering Legacy because that does not feature Jason Bourne, and there's only 4 Tuesdays in November. So stay tuned for those. Next month also we'll have the singles with Mara, where we are covering The Crow and Shin Godzilla.
Ooh.
And the ones
I
and
gotta check
twos on
that
her
out.
channel. The ones and twos on her channel will be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2: Secret of the Ooze. So make sure you stay tuned for those. They will be in the early weeks of November because the third week is Thanksgiving, and my grandfather's birthday is Thanksgiving. So I will not be doing too much online that day. However, I will probably do a short where I'm wishing people Thanksgiving or Happy Thanksgiving.
Go eat turkey and eat cranberry sauce and lots of pumpkin pie.
Yep. Anyway, folks, thank you so much. Y'all have a happy Halloween. You will see me on that day to do my Alien versus Military for Battleship. Got some nice instead of doing the movie on YouTube showing it, I have slides that I'm going to be doing for my Tuesday streams from now on. That will that will basically probably get me a little bit less in trouble with claims and whatnot. Anyway, thank you to Ambassador and Skyhound, and hopefully next week for Two Towers we'll have Kate back. She is one of my hack crew that has stuck with me since the MCUs. So, and Ambassador was here for the MCUs as well. But yeah, do you want in on Two Towers as well, Skyhound?
I'll give it a go. Yeah, definitely.
All right. So stay tuned for all of us. We'll be back next week, same time, 8 p.m. We're going to be talking my favorite of the three, which is Two Towers. And I got some juicy bits for you guys on that one. You're going to like it. Anyway, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. This has been Orange Hat and the crew. You all have a wonderful night. And always remember to stay humble.